What is going on, everybody? We're super ready for this, clearly. Everyone's super ready to go. And yeah, everything's great. Everything's great. How are you, Jacob? Are you good?
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine. We're doing okay. We're good. We're good.
Guys, it's been a long week.
It has.
For us, and I think for other people on the panel as well. There's been a lot of things going on.
A lot of well, you know, the Brazilian Grand Prix was this weekend. So a lot of 4 a.m. wake ups.
Yeah. 4 a.m. wake
There's
up.
There's a Brazilian one of those things?
Yeah, they go all around the world.
Yeah.
If there's anything worth doing, Brazil does it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, they had a rough weekend because they're trying to ship the cars from Miami to Brazil was a mess. Like some of the cars got left behind and got there late, and it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
So
the Brazilian Grand Prix is like a regular Grand Prix, except the road is a lot smoother.
All right, folks, thanks for tuning into the bracket show. We'll see you next week.
I can't, nothing I will say tonight will top that.
Oh man.
Well, yeah, I don't know where we can
cranking
really go
the
from
daddage
there,
up to PG-13.
I like it.
That was amazing. That was just genuinely amazing.
I'm not operating on enough sleep to even know how to transition from something like that happening today. So I'm gonna leave that up to you. You can take over from here.
All right. We've got a fairly fun week with three weeks left, and then
the
final episode, final 32. So let's start with our first matchup.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting.
This one's gonna be very fun. Ooh. Star Trek Nemesis versus Dark Phoenix.
Ooh.
Dan, as the Trekkie on the panel, I am gonna start with you.
Yeah. Wow, this is. I mean, how did we get here? Literally, Star Trek Nemesis is not great. Although I feel like I think that was the only Star Trek movie that I never saw in a theater because it was 2002. I was in college. Yeah, since I was alive. It was 2002. I was in college and I just missed it for whatever reason. And it got built up to me as this like huge garbage pile. And when I finally saw it, I was like, oh, this isn't terrible. It's not great. Dark Phoenix, it's got some good stuff in it, but it's just a total botch job again on the whole Phoenix storyline. Everything with Mystique was just a non-starter for me. It's got one of the worst written lines. I'm not even talking about the sentiment. One of the worst written lines ever in any movie ever in it, and Jennifer Lawrence got saddled with it. I think I'm going to have to go with Star Trek Nemesis here. I just think that the negatives of Dark Phoenix far outweigh the positives in a way that is not replicated. Although Nemesis is far from the best Star Trek movie.
Adam.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with Dan on this because I understand why people are hard on Nemesis because it's a minor chapter in the Star Trek canon and in the films especially. But it is watchable. It's definitely watchable. It's paced decently so that for me, it doesn't drag too much. Whereas Dark Phoenix, that feels like a chore to me to get through that movie. I think there are some good ideas in there, but it feels like a movie that was forced into existence. And Nemesis, at least, gave us something novel with the Picard clone angle, introduced a wider audience to Tom Hardy, and I think I don't mind him in the film at all. I think he makes some interesting choices. So, I would go with Nemesis as well, personally.
Okay. I just want to reiterate: Nemesis beat Green Hornet. Fair enough. Dan, you actually voted for Dark Phoenix because it went up against Transformers: Age of Extinction.
Oh, well, I would have voted for anything against Transformers Age of Extinction.
I voted for Transformers Age of Extinction. Just pointing that out.
Taylor.
I'm a lot less critical of Dark Phoenix, I think, than a lot of people are. I don't necessarily think it's a great film, but there are moments that I enjoy and moments I have fun with. To me, it's a decent enough movie. Star Trek Nemesis is kind of the same. Like they're pretty much on equal footing to me in terms of like, there are parts of it, both of them that I enjoy. They're watchable enough. But I do think Star Trek Nemesis just edges out for me. Just it's slightly more enjoyable. It has less low lows, I think, than Dark Phoenix has. So I'm gonna go with Nemesis.
Okay. Marisol.
Yeah, I'm just going to sound like an echo chamber at this point. I agree with. I think we're all on the same page about this. I do think that these are two films that I think more popular opinion, more common opinion is just like these are hot garbage fire films, and I don't think either of them are. I think they're both just bland and mediocre examples within their respective franchises. Underwhelming examples within their respective franchises, but still not even the worst. This is not my least favorite Star Trek film, and that is definitely not my least favorite X-Men film. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm looking at you, Wolverine. Origins, not the Wolverine.
Wolverine. Yeah.
But yeah, like it's just like these are not the worst. But also nothing excites me. Very little excites me about either of these. They're just mediocre. It's okay for films to just be mediocre, and both of these are just mediocre within their franchises. X-Men's close to my heart. Personally, I enjoy so many. I've loved several Star Trek films, but X-Men's close to my heart as a franchise. So I was a little more invested and maybe a little more frustrated by things that happened in Dark Phoenix, but invested more in them and the characters and the actors and everything. So I'm going to go with Dark Phoenix.
Robbie?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Marisol that X-Men is also just a little bit closer to my heart. And, I like the characters that are portrayed in Dark Phoenix more than Nemesis. I think both of these movies have pretty equal footing when it comes to their lows. But when it comes to the highs, I think there are more good things in Dark Phoenix that are like a higher, level magnitude than there are in Nemesis. Like, I think it's Nicholas Holt's best movie of the new ones. I think any time that the movie is focusing on the relationship between Charles and Eric, it's knocking it out of the park because there are two incredibly well cast, incredibly brilliant actors in those two roles, and neither of them are bad in any scene in any of the new movies. The scene where Magneto finds out that Raven is dead is just magnificent. The train fight scene is some of the best action in the new series of X-Men films. There is a lot that Dark Phoenix does wrong. Everything with the Tabari and Jessica Chastain rip. But there's higher highs in Dark Phoenix for me than there are in Nemesis. So I'm gonna go for Dark Phoenix.
Mara.
I think that Dark Phoenix coasts by on the goodwill of having good actors in it that do really, really bad jobs and that they get forgiven for being good actors in other things. I think it has one of the most underdeveloped villains in any superhero movie ever. And people just forgive it because it's Jessica Chastain and she's like pretty and talented when she's able to actually act. And it has the most low-hanging fruit feminism bullshit that I've ever seen. And it makes me want to vomit every time I watch it. It's just like, we're going to really just gear it towards telling people what they want to hear. Cool. It's like, okay, great. Teach people nothing.
It's just the way that line's written. It's a badly written line.
And
like
also,
grammatically, it's badly written and delivered poorly.
Either.
Yes.
Well, yeah, she gave zero fucks about being in those movies anymore. I hate this movie. I would vote for Son of the Mask over Dark Phoenix, people. That's how much I hate it.
Wow.
I don't forgive Star Trek Nemesis for its faults, but I do think that it gave me Tom Hardy and pleather, which is a gift to my eyes and my senses. So,
Yes,
Star Trek
true.
Nemesis for the win.
Yeah.
All right. With that, Star Trek Nemesis survives, and we move on to our next matchup. We have, this one could break Marisol's heart. Jurassic Park: The Lost World versus Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. I'm more meaning it just could break your heart because you have to pick between a Jurassic Park movie and a Harry Potter movie. So, Robert, I'm going to start with you.
This one's not too tough for me. There are days when Deathly Hallows is my favorite. Deathly Hallows Part 1, excuse me, is my favorite Harry Potter movie. I think people critique that movie for being, slow and where nothing happens. I think this is the movie that has some of the best character development in any Harry Potter movie. I think they did a good job, you should say, by splitting it into two movies, and the things that happened, the plot, the action that happens in part 1 is a great setup for part 2, but also just everything that happens with the characters all the time you get to spend with them. There's a lot of really great stuff in Deathly Hallows Part 1. The ending, I mean, everything that they do with Dobby just still to this day brings me to tears. There's just so much that movie knocks out of the park. And Lost World Jurassic Park, I think, is fine. I think it's the best Jurassic Park sequel, but that's a really low bar. It does a good job of introducing some fun new characters, but everything with the gymnastics is just weird. And honestly, the last 30 minutes, I know people like when the dinosaur goes to San Diego. I just couldn't give a shit about the last. I feel like some people are like, oh yeah, it's so cool because the dinosaur's in a real city. I feel like that's something that people like about that movie, but that's my least in the running for my least favorite 25-minute stretch in any Jurassic Park movie. I really don't like the ending of Lost World, so I gotta go Deathly Hallows 1.
Adam.
Potter's back.
There's a lot of them, Collins. Get ready.
There really are. And they just keep surviving. But I gotta say, this is one of the pretty darn good ones. I know I've been getting a little bit of a reputation for being pissy about Potter or whatever you want to call it. But honestly, I do like these movies.
You should put that on a t-shirt.
I was just going to say, we need to sell that t-shirt.
You realize that that's actual pornography that exists about golden showers being given to Hermione, right?
Safe search off, though. Safe search off, and you'll get where you need to go.
Yeah, I bet it is, Mara. That stopped me in my tracks. You got me. So the Harry Potter films. For the record, I think most of them are good. With this one, what I'm looking at is I've got one of the strongest of the Potter films against, I would agree, to date, still the best of the Jurassic Park sequels. And I liked the original Jurassic Park film. I love it, So the thing with Lost World for me is it doesn't break a whole lot of new ground, and so much is put on Ian Malcolm's shoulders. And whenever I rewatch that movie, I am missing a lot of the other characters from the first film. But what I love about Lost World is all the practical effects. The score is great. And I don't mind revisiting that movie. It is not a chore whatsoever. Deathly Hallows Part 1 takes us into the final act so well, sets up the drama incredibly well. And for someone who, it took a while to kind of catch up to everything that was going on in this universe, it's a movie that I've literally caught on cable and I know what's going on. So that's a testament to how well it's set up. So I'd like to see Lost World go farther to represent the franchise, but I will vote for Deathly Hallows Part 1 in this. To be fair, I think it's a slightly stronger movie overall.
Okay. Dan?
I'm with Parker. I am old enough, unlike him, to have seen Lost World in theaters when it came out, and even when I was much younger, and believe it or not, I've never been a fan of that ending. I think if they had ended it on the island, it would have been a pretty serviceable sequel to Jurassic Park. Some great set pieces, the glass, the where they're on the shattering glass, and the raptors and the grass and everything stalking them, and they took some cues from the Jurassic Park book that were not in the first movie and wrote that in, like the T-Rex behind the waterfall. There's some pretty good island stuff on there. The gymnastic stuff is pretty dumb, but generally that whole raptor sequence I think is pretty strong. So I think that if it was just that, then I would regard that movie a lot differently. But every time I revisited that movie, it completely loses me when you start going to San Diego and they doing the Godzilla thing, and it's fourth act syndrome all over the place. It's just unnecessary. You had plenty there that you could have just made a great movie out of. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows is, I agree. It's like, it's the wind up to the punch of the second movie, which is, largely this big action finale. So I think it's pretty good, and I think it stands pretty well on its own terms. So yeah, I think that there's a lot to really love about Lost World, but it just overstays its welcome, and I think really takes a bad turn in the final 20-25 minutes. I have to go with Harry Potter as well.
Okay. Marisol.
Well, I mean, you said that so heavy-handedly, Jacob.
Okay.
Just
rip
say
the Band-Aid off.
No, look, okay. Some things I have more things to say about than others, and these are two of my favorite franchises of all time. So yeah, I got some things to say. But I first off, what is this cut of The Lost World that you guys have watched where there was like 30 minutes of gymnastics? There was 8 seconds of gymnastics in the film. All right.
Too much.
8 seconds. And that was my only point. No. Yeah, it is. And it's 8 extremely silly seconds. I'll give you that. But The Lost World is it's the second best Jurassic Park film. Jurassic World gets worse with rewatches, I think, and the logic is really not there. Not that there's logic in a lot of these films, and not that there's more in Lost World than there is in Jurassic World, and there's still a story, and like Dan, you were saying, some absolutely the most memorable set pieces in the entire franchise. Some of them are in The Lost World. It's still got the goods, and that's no small owing to the fact that a lot of Crichton's novel is present in this film as well. Yeah, Spielberg said it. He wanted a kaiju movie. He wanted it, so he just put it in there. And I was 7. And I thought it was awesome, and it's still kind of held up for me. I recognize the absurdity, but it also still gets me really giddy and excited. And I love the special effects are so excellent, and I just remember the shot of the T-Rex stepping off of the ship and trying to bite the guy as he falls into the water, and it's epic and it's exciting and it still gives me goosebumps. And the visuals are all still there, and the spectacle is still there. I could have done without the running Japanese businessmen, but it's there are a lot of highs in The Lost World, and it is absolutely the second best Jurassic Park film in my mind. And I will rewatch that film 100 times and enjoy a lot in it. Deathly Hallows Part 1 though is such a special film, firmly in the top half of Harry Potter films in the series. And it's the first film where they're not at school anymore. They're not kids. They're not just like, ooh, magic. They're in control of their adventures, their stories. They are making decisions. They are on their own. And this is a film spent entirely with these young adults who are fast becoming adults. And it is in the hands of these actors and the power of the screenplay and the power of the acting and the dialogue that propels this entire film forward, and makes it a fascinating watch for well-initiated Potter fans and people who have never even seen it and just are looking for a really well-made drama, like, road movie, and who even haven't seen like the 6 Potter films before that. Deathly Hallows is Part 1 is a very unique film in the Potter franchise, a terrific film, and unique after all, and because it doesn't rely on the spectacle and the magic. It's just a great drama and a great film, which really helps it stand out and stand on its own 2 legs without the bought in, name of the IP or just knowing that you're just going to go see like somebody wave a wand and things are going to happen. It stands its own two legs as a solid drama and a great film. I'll leave it at that. Sorry, Lost World. I do appreciate you in your own right, but Deathly Hallows is a better film overall, objectively, personally, and I vote for it.
Okay. I actually, you mentioned something about Part 1, and Part 1's is definitely one of my top Harry Potter films. And the scene that just kind of encapsulates that entire movie is, and to David Yates' credit, he actually does deliver on it very well in his directing, is when they get to Grimmauld Place and they just go, and it's just we're alone. And it just cuts, and it's that you are the trio are finally alone by themselves with no help, and I think that is a powerful thing for this franchise, and it sets up the conclusion, and that's why I think Deathly Hallows Part 1 is one of the better Harry Potter films, and when Harry Potter is one of my favorite franchises, it's probably going to win because of that reason alone. Mara.
I feel like Dan really let me down because he did not at all mention the dripping, oozing sex appeal of Jeff Goldblum for one moment. I mean, it doesn't need to be mentioned, but it also really
goes without saying.
Looking at a candy bar, do I need to eat it? No. Everyone knows I'm gonna eat it, but I'm gonna proclaim that I'm eating it. So
I mean, I would argue that it was more present in Jurassic Park, but you know.
Oh no! I don't know.
Although him saying, "Mommy's very angry."
Yeah, that is one thing I just feel like we failed to mention. I mean, there is just an intense amount of sex appeal in that whole movie. Like, sadly, Ariana Richards' character is not old enough to be hot yet, but she's on the cusp. She was very much over 18 when that was filmed, but her character was under 18, so therefore not quite allowed to be hot yet. Julianne Moore, I mean, my God. Richard Schiff, duh.
Richard Schiff, beardless Richard Schiff.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn, little pre-something and post-something else, but still real good.
Yeah.
Also played
Vince Vaughn on the rise.
Peter Stormare, who is just creepily attractive, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of like, if I ran into you in an alley, I might be creeped out, but I might be like, all right, what's up?
It's endearing.
I also think that the Velociraptors are very fuckable. I'm just gonna say it. All that being said, though, yeah, I 100% think that these two movies are actually a perfect example of how to utilize your runtime, how to make a movie feel like it's way longer than it is, or how to make a really long movie go by like that. Because I think every single ounce of deliberate character development, and I think the slowest moments of Hallows 1 are its strongest moments, which I know some people say they get bored with it, but I think that whether you're a book reader or not, if you're invested in the characters, the stakes are not properly established for everything to happen in 2 unless 1 was done like perfecto. Mm-hmm. And I think it really knocked it out of the park. And sadly, it knocked it out of the Jurassic Park. So despite my disdain for so many Harry Potter movies.
It's a special one tonight, folks. It's
I don't think I can follow up any of what just happened from any of the panel. I'm going to keep it concise and say that I really, really, really enjoy the Lost World Jurassic Park very much. I have a lot of love for all of the Jurassic Park movies, except for Jurassic World movies don't count. I'm talking like Jurassic Park movies. So I really have a lot of love for it. Abby with the facts. But it's up against Deathly Hallows Part 1. Like, that's the unfortunate thing here. Deathly Hallows Part 1, I think, as others on the panel have already said, does exactly what it needs to do to set up Part 2. It does something that I think Hollywood hasn't figured out how to replicate for a lot of its franchises, where they try to give you a Part 1 and a Part 2, and they just don't feel as successful as Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Part 2. Whether that's for their lack of understanding of why it works, or because they just don't care enough to actually figure it out and they're just trying to make money. That's a whole different conversation. But I think Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 are probably the most successful for me in terms of achieving what they're actually trying to do and the necessity of having a Part 1 and a Part 2. And I think that only works if Part 1 does exactly what it's supposed to and really functions. So I'm going to vote for Deathly Hallows Part 1.
All right. Well, with that, Deathly Hallows Part 1 makes it through. All right. Next up, we have Mad Max Fury Road versus Wanted. Adam, I'm going to start with you.
Good for Wanted. Good for Wanted. I have an abundance of things I can say about Fury Road. I've said a lot of them already. I think I'm going to have a chance to say them again. So I'll just say Wanted is a weird little movie. Parts of it haven't aged well. Some of the action's like really goofy now, but it's got some it's got a lot of cool actors in it. It's an interesting time capsule, I suppose. But Fury Road is just one of those cinematic experiences I'll never forget. For me, I saw it a few weeks after all the buzz had really picked up momentum, and I caught a matinee, and it was a smaller auditorium, and I think maybe 2 or 3 other people were in the audience, and it was still a blast. I was just transfixed, and it's a movie I really enjoy revisiting. So I'll say more in the future about this one. But Wanted, you fought the good fight.
Robert.
Yeah, Fury Road was a movie that when it came out, I wasn't super high on it. I saw it twice in theaters, and both times I could really take it or leave it. And then I revisited it towards the end of last year, start of this year, and just wanted to travel back to 2015 and slap myself for being on crazy pills. Fury Road rocks. I like Wanted more than most people. I probably led the charge to get it into this round. I don't remember, but I would guess. I like that movie more than most, but yeah, Fury Road is just a spectacle. It's just visually and even just from a storytelling perspective, it's just like everything that movies can be. It's amazing. I love Fury Road.
So Wanted beat Turbo Power Rangers.
Well, that'll be why.
That track.
And Fury Road beat Watchmen. So if anyone has like some revenge that they want to Speaking of, Marisol, hi.
Breathe.
Hi, Jacob. Hi, Jacob. You just love twisting the knife. Thank you for adding fuel to my fire here. With that little nugget, with that walk down memory lane. That's right. Fury Road did beat Watchmen, didn't it?
Oh, man.
Look.
I'm going to be in the country with these people in 2 weeks, and I think it's the stupidest decision I've ever made in my entire life.
Disagree. We'll talk later.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think I'm a glass half full type of person. And when I heard, Parker, when I heard you say what you said, I was like, you know what? Maybe that'll happen for me one day. Maybe one day I'll rewatch Fury Road and I'll have an epiphany. But until that time, I would never fault Fury Road for being one of the most popular films of the last decade, and universally adored and beloved, and liked and well liked with plenty of backable reasons, legit reasons. The 2 times I've seen it, it just doesn't land for me. It just doesn't. I'm just not feeling what everybody else is feeling when they watch this film. I'm feeling a hollower experience than a lot of people are feeling. And if you had to ask me the best action movie of 2015, I would say Rogue Nation. For this, I would think of Rogue Nation first. Even some sequences in Furious 7 I was like, it's 2015. I don't need to. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to be the only person who's going to vote for Wanted, so I'll just talk about Wanted. Wanted is a ridiculous movie. It is a movie that creates its own rules, and its rules are absolutely batshit and make no sense. And I had some problems with many things the first time I saw Wanted. Then I watched it again, and then I watched it again, and then I watched it again. And I think maybe on the fourth time, I was beaten into submission, and I accepted this world and its rules and how little so many things make sense in it, but how awesome Angelina Jolie is in it, and how miscast I think that James McAvoy is in it. But I think he still does the best. And that how I think, I always forget his last name, but Thomas, the guy who plays his father, Thomas Crutchman. Yeah, how underutilized he is in the film. But still worthwhile, and how awesome it is just to hear Morgan Freeman say the word motherfucker in that movie, and say it with such panache. And there's a lot of ridiculous things that I have grown to appreciate about Wanted. It is a film that's grown on me, and I still think is not excellent or amazing, but in this weird little corner where I'm at, where I'm in between a rewatch of Mad Max Fury Road and maybe a greater appreciation for that film, and multiple watches of Wanted, where I enjoy its lurid thrills for what it is. I'm caught in this place where I'm going to vote for Wanted.
Okay. Mara.
I will be brief because I also expect Fury Road to see the next round where I can just talk so much about it. I will say, though, one of my biggest cinematic regrets ever is that the trailers for Mad Max Fury Road made me very concerned that it was all style and no substance, and I did not see it in the theaters. One of the biggest regrets I have, because it is the perfect marriage of style and substance. Wanted really did a lot to help looms stay in the cultural zeitgeist. It just didn't do enough for me to let it stay in this round. So I'm going to go with Fury Road.
Dale.
Yeah, I will keep this brief as well, and I will go with Fury Road. Unfortunately, the absolute moisture factor of James McAvoy and Angelina Jolie is just not enough to push Wanted through.
Chris Pratt too.
So, that takes away moisture points. So that's why it's not going through.
He's a human sponge.
Well, you can have him.
Dan.
Yeah. I'll just say, I guess these will sort of be my opening remarks for I think what the next round will be, that I think that there are maybe 10 movies every decade that come out that I would categorize in my mind, not objectively, but subjectively for me as a viewing experience, are perfect. And for Mad Max Fury Road is one of those for me. So I will have to be going with Mad Max Fury Road.
All right. And with that, Mad Max Fury Road makes it through. All right. Next up, Superman the movie versus Ready Player One. Mara, I am going to start with you.
Oh man, Superman the motion picture, what a movie. I'll still never get over that.
It's something else.
Just amazing.
This is really tough, and I could be the only person that thinks this way. I really do admire what was done in Ready Player One. I like it probably more than most people do. I think it's a really good adaptation, save for prettying up the two main characters so much that the major problems regarding like why they are emotionally damaged and why they would cling to one another is just totally moot. But you know what? It's Hollywood. They can't be successful unless they're pretty, apparently. So yeah, I really wish they would have cast like normal looking people actors, but that's neither here nor there. Superman the movie is just iconography to the max. I think that it really helped. I mean, don't get me wrong, like Batman 66, awesome movie. However, I don't think that as much of what it brought to the table superhero wise still is used, even though, yes, we modernize things a little bit, but like the things that they did in that movie, like the flying effects, still honestly hold up pretty darn well. He spent like a year learning how to be on wires, and he was a pilot, so it helped him like with the aerodynamics of all of it. Like, so much care was put into the making of that movie. I think their relationship is incredibly believable. It's sweet, but it's also like, oh yeah, you know that when it finally comes around in the sequels and they're just like, oh yeah, we're doing it, that they were doing it like hard, like HARD. And I just think it did so much. And for quality purposes and also legacy, I can't in good conscience not vote for Superman the motion picture, but I do really love Ready Player One.
Taylor.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to vote against Ready Player One. Whatever am I gonna do? It's Superman the movie. Ugh. Ready Player One. Ugh. I literally fell asleep in that.
You
movie.
actually did. She literally.
It's the only movie that we've ever seen together in the 3 years we've known each other that
You
I've fallen
actually
asleep
fell asleep
in a movie.
in.
So that's all I need to say about that.
Yeah. She actually fell asleep in
Yeah.
cinema. That was.
You were like, so did you enjoy the movie? I was like, yeah, it was great.
I saw 30 seconds of it.
Hey,
Adam.
to be fair, I saw the first half and then
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, I'm checking out. Superman the movie.
Adam.
Yeah, everyone was nice to let me get a lot off my chest about Ready Player One last time, so I'm going to take it easy on the movie this time. And I will also go as far to say that Ben Mendelsohn's really good in it, but he's great in everything.
Benny Menz.
But I do like him in the movie. Superman the movie, like a lot of people, one of the first superhero movies I ever saw. Batman '89 is the first one I remember seeing in my life, but Superman wasn't long after that. Getting the VHS copy from my library and watching it at home, and just kind of discovering the series out of order. And when I was younger, not really, I was a little kinder to 3 and 4. But what I liked about all the movies was Christopher Reeve. He's the lifeline throughout this franchise. And he's left his imprint on the character in a really indelible way. And I think one thing, aside from the spectacle of it and the performances, which are all very memorable, making the character of Kal-El so relatable, so that we've come to expect, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, the best superhero movies to have these characters that ideally in some way reflect us, which I know is an obvious thing to say, but like in that movie, I really like that he always seems slightly out of place, and he's well aware of that. And he's always putting his best foot forward. And there's a real vulnerability to him, despite the fact that he's Superman. And it just really endears me to the character. On top of all that, even some of the things that are a little more of their time, effects wise, make me love the movie even more. Not an issue. So I like to see this one keep going. Ready Player One. Yeah.
Dan.
I also like Ready Player One, I think, more than most people. I do have a difficult time rewatching it because Olivia Cooke is just the way that her face is slightly miscolored under certain lighting conditions.
And only certain lighting conditions.
Oh, excuse me. Oh, she's just hideous.
You just could never love
Hideous
her.
to look upon.
Yeah.
That vaguely there birthmark. No, I like it. I don't know. I enjoy it. It's the only Spielberg movie in quite some time that's really made me go like, oh, this guy can still do what he used to do. But I actually revisited Superman the movie for my podcast last year, and I sort of break it down and really analyze it, for that in particular, not just watching it. And it's first of all, Christopher Reeve, like, I can't think of another character because, it's like every generation has their versions of certain characters, and people have their version of James Bond, and people have their version of, Batman or whatever. Like, I can't think of another character that, like, let's see, was 78. So we're now 30 plus years later. Yeah. 35, almost 35 years later.
Maths are hard. Yeah.
I don't do math. Anyway,
40.
we're a long ways away past Superman coming out. 40 plus
We're nearly
years.
45 years.
Over
40,
40, yeah.
43 years.
43, yeah.
We're getting closer as a team.
And I think still anyone who takes on the role of Superman is still struggling to break out of Christopher Reeve's shadow. I mean, that's just how good he was in that part. And
total beefcake.
I mean, he just nailed it. When I grew up, I didn't want to grow up to be Superman. I wanted to grow up to be Christopher Reeve as Superman. Like that's who I wanted to be. So I just think that there's something about timeless stories and a telling of a timeless story that is what it is. It's timeless. And Gene Hackman and Ned Beatty and Valerie Perrin and that whole cast, Margot Kidder and everybody, like they just seem like they just nail those roles. They're perfect for those roles. And so I've got to go. I'm sure I'm going to say more later, but for this one, I like Ready Player One. I'm a fan of it, but for me, it's Superman the movie.
Robert.
I am going to vote Ready Player One. It is the movie that I personally like more. Superman the movie, I think, is good. It has grown in my estimation over time, but I do still think that, like, while legacy does count for something, to me, it is very of its time. Maybe it's just because I had seen so many other great Superman hero movies. By the time I went back to watch Superman the movie, I think that may have had an effect on it. But I think it is very of its time. I love the performances. I love the score. Obviously, I respect how iconic it is, but it's a little long. The flying around Earth is real dumb for me. I don't buy into that
I
at
would
all.
explain why that scientifically works, by the way. You just weren't here for it.
Okay, well, maybe if I heard that next time in a couple of weeks, I'll hear that and we'll see if it changes my opinion. But I think that's super stupid, and I respect Superman the movie. I like it. It's fine. I'm not going to complain about watching it. But if it's which one would I rather pop in right now, it's Ready Player One. Ben Mendelsohn is wonderful. I think all the visual effects hold up. I love the small references to other properties. I love like the chest burster alien when they're hiding under the stairs. I love the dance sequence. I love the shining sequence. There is a lot of really great stuff in Ready Player One. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I just, the score in Ready Player One is also really, really great. And I do kind of like the themes, and I think they're relevant. I don't think I agree the whole like the ugliness. I agree with what Mara was saying about how the characters like are a little bit too pretty to be selling the message fully. But I do like the message of hiding behind a screen instead of being in your own world. And I love the relationship between Halliday and Morrow and the girl that he lost and how he's still pining after her and his memory. Like, I think there's a lot of really like relevant and interesting themes in Ready Player One. I think it's a little bit unfairly maligned, and I really like that movie, so I'd rather put that one on right now than Superman the movie.
All right. Marisol.
This is a no-brainer for me. This is not even a contest for me. But I will say that with Ready Player One, I think what frustrates me the most about it is that, like, you compare these movies where you're pitting of virtual reality against the real world, and there are just no stakes. There's nothing to grab onto with me in the real world in Ready Player One versus something like maybe like The Matrix, where the consequences and the stakes of the real world are pounded so hard in that series, in those films, that there is a reason, a living, breathing reason driving everything that everybody's doing. Even if there's cool shit happening in the fake world and virtual reality, it really does mean something in terms of the real world and these characters' lives. And that is just absent in Ready Player One for me. And I do think that Ready Player One leans too hard. Although that's grafted into the point of the movie, I do think it leans too hard on. I just think nostalgia without substance, and the thing that loses me the most and is with the Shining sequence, and how Kubrick would be rolling over in his grave if he knew that wasn't a film. But Superman the movie is I've talked about it before. It is essential. It's essential in my life, and I just think in general. And it works so much. What we've been talking about with Christopher Reeve is how much he brings to. I love Cavill as Superman too, who as well, which I think he did bring his own angle. And I love how in Cavill's Superman, you really get into the relationship between Clark and his parents. more than in the Christopher Reeve movies. I think that is explored really, really beautifully in the Snyder versions, in the Snyderverse, with Superman. But Christopher Reeve really captured, and what is so timeless and so important about him is how much he brings Clark Kent to life, which Cavill doesn't as much. And not Cavill's fault. That's not really Snyder's focus. But Clark Kent is brought to life so vividly in with Reeves in Superman the movie. And then that combined with then him becoming Superman is such a 1-2 punch for the ages. And Margot Kidder I adore her as Lois Lane. I love how messy she is and how she's allowed to be so messy, but still sharp as a tack and so good at her job and what she does, but allowed to just be this messy character. And that's the best iteration, the best actress to be that character by far. Love Amy Adams, an excellent actress. But we don't get the level of Lois Lane that we get with Kidder in Superman the movie. I'll make some other points later. Superman the movie.
Well, with that, Superman the movie does make it through. All right, we are halfway through the second round. Let's keep this train moving.
What do we got?
Sky High versus Snowpiercer.
Oh no!
I don't care about your sexual awakening, Robbie. Vote for a good, like the best movie.
All right, Robert.
No. Go to somebody else. I need to make another drink.
Danielle Panabaker isn't going to be any less significant to your sexual maturation with alcohol, Robbie.
All right, Mara.
Hard disagree.
Abby, I think Abby doesn't like us right now.
Abby, I think you and Robert and myself are all on the same planet.
All right, Mara, what do you got?
I really love Sky High. I think it is great fun. I think that it's well acted, especially from the like younger kid people, tiny versions of adult actors. But man, Snowpiercer is just like every single thing that director Bong touches is infused with important social commentary. And I think that besides the fact that number one is a bottle movie, it's already challenging your perceptions because that can get stale. They do excellent work with production design, making each car feel like a totally different location. They really develop the characters and make you care about them. I think they establish the rules of their universe really well, and they do it pretty simply. There's a little bit of news position, but I think that that's a pretty good shortcut in this case. But I just think that the gravity with which it's choosing to tackle these really, really complicated, like important today, going to be important 10 years from now, sadly, and probably still going to be important 100 years from now if we're not all dead, sorts of issues, that it's going to maintain its relevancy through time. And it only gets better every time you watch it. I just think that there's no way you could put almost any movie next to Snowpiercer and it would be nearly impossible for me not to pick the one that chooses to say something through its media, something powerful, and it does it through stellar execution.
Dan.
See, I think this is a little generational because I think I sort of see Sky High with the same sort of nonchalance that Robert saw Superman in that, I saw it and it was fine. But I also was. It
was also inappropriate for you to crush on Danielle Panabaker.
Well, yeah, exactly. Me crushing on Danielle Panabaker would be a whole other thing. It's fun. It's cute. It wasn't made. I was never in the target audience for that movie, the target market. So I am much more partial to Snowpiercer. I like it more every time I see it. I just think that it's so well done from an action standpoint, from a dramatic standpoint. Every role very well acted. Again, I think perhaps this will stick around. We'll see, though. I know that many people regard Sky High, but I'm going to put Snowpiercer even a little bit more in the lead because I just missed the Sky High train. So Snowpiercer has my vote.
Marisol.
Yeah. So, yeah. No, don't feel no, you're in good company, Dan. Like I think like for me, there were a lot of like Disney Channel original movies that or Disney Channel original series that just became movies in the 2000s. And there's a lot of Disney stuff in the 2000s, High School Musical 3 and the Lizzie McGuire movie. And then Sky High was like the unofficial like Disney Channel original movie that just like eked into theaters like for me in like the 2000s. And I don't think I was necessarily outside of like the age, but I won't make any excuses for it. I'll just say that like I thought it was fluffy. I thought it was cute, but I thought it already had scratched an itch that Spy Kids had already done for me like a few years prior. And it didn't really do anything for me past that. And there's just so much. These are two really weird movies to compare because they just are completely different objectives. Both of these films, like these aren't even remotely in the same ballpark. Like there's no crossover with these two films, so it's really weird to compare the two. There's no crossover at all.
I'm trying to think if like an actor is in one of these movies. I'm going to try to think of an actor who does.
Like miles away in terms of who they're trying to appeal to, what they're about, what objectives they have. The like it's just they're not even comparable. So it's just which one do I prefer? I prefer Snowpiercer. It's really easy for me, objectively, subjectively, whichever way you spin it. Snowpiercer is a hell of a film. And sticks with me and gets under my skin. So many things about it. Chris Evans, we all love. Of course, we love Chris Evans as Cap, but man, do we love do panties drop and do biceps flex when they see Chris Evans acting like in a movie. Like when he really gets his chance to really like flex his acting chops and give a great performance because Chris Evans is a very talented actor on top of being like a handsome hunk of meat. He's so great in Snowpiercer. And I always just remember that scene where he's talking about eating babies because it messes me up. And it's very memorable. And Director Bong, as Mara called him, he's great. And this is just one of his many excellent films. Definitely Snowpiercer.
Taylor.
I hear all these amazing points about Snowpiercer, and I'm going with Sky High. I hear all these lovely, relevant, beautiful, eloquent, amazing points about how Snowpiercer like humanity and there's a whole like story that's important and like it has a deep like thing and I'm like, but War and Peace, Kurt Russell, but like what are we doing here? Come on, it's Sky High, people, come on.
I'm old.
Willpower.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm old.
And I'm young, and I'm gonna vote for Sky High.
To be fair,
it directly targeted everything I needed in my life at the moment that it came out. Nostalgia is gonna be. I'm just doing it. I don't care.
Nostalgia is a powerful drug.
It is, and I usually am like, oh, nostalgia's Sky High. Nope, sign me up. It's getting my vote in vain. I don't care.
Adam.
Can we just back it up for a second? To when Marisol was recounting Chris Evans' performance, she's like, and then he's just like, eating babies.
And so hot was the immediate thought in my mind.
He's so hot, eating babies.
I like to call that scene.
I believe that was in the same stretch of thought as panty dropping. Yes.
Something about a man with an appetite.
When we're all in LA, because I'm making that Cocoa Melon cake, so we're all gonna
be so exciting.
I have no idea when. I just god.
So Sky High, very bouncy movie, very buoyant, and Bruce Campbell. That's my he's my Ben Mendelsohn for this one. Nuts to him. He's fun. Snowpiercer. What I liked about it is when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this feels kind of like Dickens, like steampunk Dickens, and then we got some Roald Dahl, and then it turns into a murder fest, and but with a lot of pointed conversations in between all the chaos. And I think the reason it has so much staying power is because it's a really rewatchable movie. It's a movie people are eager to share with others who haven't seen it. The word of mouth has really blown that movie up, and led to this series, which I've heard good things about. I haven't checked it out, but I hear it's pretty good. But I think it was a really good demonstration of what Bong Joon-ho could do. With a really diverse cast like that, and doing something that would.
Sorry. I just FaceTimed all of you accidentally.
Oh, okay.
I apologize.
I was so confused.
I was like, I know StreamYard sucks sometimes, Dan. Timing.
All the echoes.
He's trying to FaceTime his other friends because he's so bored, and he accidentally FaceTimed us instead.
He's like, these goddamn Rugrats won't stop talking about Sky High. Snowpiercer is my vote. Snowpiercer.
All right, Parker.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean you had to save me to the end, because now I'm just going to spend about 18 minutes gushing about Sky High, because now that I know it's out. You could not pick two movies that I love so much that are complete opposite ends of the spectrum. One is dark, gritty, serious drama, philosophical about the future, all of which are things that I adore. And one is campy, superhero, high school, coming of age, father-son relationship, which I also love for entirely different reasons. I agree with every single thing that was said about Snowpiercer. It's a masterpiece. That scene where Chris Evans is talking about how he knows what baby tastes like is heartbreaking. I love what that movie has to say about class structure. I love everything about Snowpiercer. That movie is so unique and so smart and so well crafted, and I'm still gonna vote for Sky High because it's fucking Sky High. I don't think I can overstate how important that movie was. I remember it premiered on a Thursday night, and it was a school night, so I wasn't allowed to stay up to watch it. So I had to DVR it and then watch it the second I got home from school the next day. And that movie is if we're talking most important movies of my, it's no joke, in the top 10 most important movies of my life, because it made me fall in love with superheroes, just as much as 2002 Spider-Man, just as much as Spider-Man 2. Sky High is such an important, it has classic, right? It has hero support and supers, and the relationship between Kurt Russell and his son is just so striking, because the son just wants to do everything he can to impress his dad and to live up to his father's shadow. And that stuff just hits so hard. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead is just wonderful. And Daniel Panabaker, give me that Daniel Panabaker slice. Give me the Alexis Bledel slice. I'm ready for him. Everything that just their relationship, the sort of one-sided love that is happening in the first sort of half of that movie, and all the high school mistakes that they make, the Save the Citizen scene. There's just so much of Sky High that is not just nostalgic, but it's genuinely really, really, really good. The scene where he finally discovers his powers is amazing. I like what they do with the hero or the villain, the twist that they do, the cafeteria fight, and I'm gonna be done now. But Sky High is one of the most important movies of my life. So for sure, Sky High.
Well, despite the ringing endorsement from both
Taylor
and Ben Parker
and Abby in the chat.
It's
all right. I know who my friends are.
I'm gonna go watch Sky High.
I'm
not even fucking with you. I'm gonna go watch Sky High. I should put it on in the background.
I'm gonna make Jacob watch it with me.
Oh God, help us! All right.
I in this moment, I feel I wish I loved anything as much as Robert loves Sky High.
Sorry, Adam. No joke. The first thing I watched on Disney Plus, the day Disney Plus launched, fucking Mandalorian, fuck anything else on Disney Plus. The first thing I watched on Disney Plus was Sky High. No joke. I'm gonna put it it on in the background.
Don't get us thrown off the air.
Yeah, that's right.
If I keep it on silent, it should be fine, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
What's next?
next, let's break some hearts.
Oh, great.
Oh boy.
Man of Steel versus Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
We had our fun.
We had our fun.
Now
it's real. Adam, I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Well, I spoke at length about Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I was one of the people who voted for it. And I maintain that I think Rise is really special because it's unique among all the films in the franchise because it is one of the smallest stories. And it is so gradual with the way it sets up the rest of the trilogy. And I feel like it lives in the shadow now of Dawn and War because they have so much spectacle and scale and really drive home the themes of the franchise and bring back all these really cool ideas from the original sequels. But Rise, I think is special just because there's so much emotion to it. And seeing the small scale story with Caesar and everything is why the movie really resonates with me. But Man of Steel was like, for me, that Man of Steel was a reawakening in terms of the character of Superman for me on screen. And I don't think it's perfect, but it's a movie that does improve for me when I rewatch it. And which is why it's grown in my estimation over the years. It's one of my favorite scores, not just of comic book movies or anything. Like I listened to the CD in my car. I found an actual compact disc of it because I was in a store that had a soundtrack section and it was $3. I was like, I'm not turning this down. So that's cool. It has like a 30-minute like combo track of like all the music together. It's pretty crazy. Really good stuff. But what I love about Man of Steel especially is that it brings back the idea of what would it be like if we had to contend with the idea of Superman really living in this world, and how would it affect us as a society? And some of us would be excited and we'd idealize that, but there would be a lot of skepticism. There would be a lot of fear. And even the people who tried to see the good in this, in Superman, would still be thinking in the back of their minds, but what if something goes wrong? And I think that movie, Man of Steel, really hits on that, unlike any other Superman movie before it, which made a lot of people uncomfortable. And I can understand why, but that's what I love about this movie. Henry Cavill gives a really great performance. He makes the character his own. And it's still my favorite of all of his DC performances thus far. So Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I think, if I'm being completely fair, I think the script is a little bit tighter overall. And I think it has a really, really great arc, both for Caesar and the other characters. But Man of Steel brought back the spectacle for Superman for me and renewed my interest in seeing the character in live action. So I vote for Man of Steel.
Dan.
Yeah, this isn't as much of a heartbreak for me. I think like my first big boy internet opinion after starting work at Screen Junkies was that I've never been a huge fan of Man of Steel. And again, I revisited it last year for my podcast, again, with a completely open mind. And honestly, I think part of it is not really the movie's fault. I think that if they had executed a plan with Superman where this was sort of the dour opener to this expansion of the Superman universe, where we eventually get somewhere that is sort of hinted to with Justice League, except it doesn't really, I don't know. I just feel like it has so many fascinating germs of an idea, and I've softened on it over the years. It's been 8 years, believe it or not, since it came out. I've softened on it a lot, but to me, it's still very much several really interesting ideas and demythologizing, which I don't mind playing with the Superman mythos. I don't mind, sort of the iconoclast nature of it at certain points. But I just think it's a lot of really good half-formed ideas. And then at the end, it just all gets sort of overwhelmed by the bigness of it. And I think that Batman v Superman was an attempt to sort of tug on the strings from this movie. But again, that also, I think, got enveloped by the bigness of everything. And so that itself is also a kind of a big pot of half-formed ideas. So I think that there are, like, that Superman flying sequence when he comes out of the ship and you have the voiceover and that Hans Zimmer score and he's jumping and leaping and learning to fly. That may be my favorite Superman sequence. It's weird. My two favorite Superman sequences on film may be in two of my least favorite Superman films, which is the flying sequence from this one and the plane rescue from Superman Returns. But it just never came together for me. It never gelled for me, and it still hasn't all these years later. Whereas I think Rise of the Planet of the Apes has a much more coherent through line. Again, you're using technology as a tool and not as an excuse in a weird way, or it's there because you need it, not because you want just to have this big bombastic finale. And I think that it actually is smaller than I anticipated, which is interesting in its own way. So I think that my vote's going to be for Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I understand why people like Man of Steel so much. I've never been on the same level with it. So my vote goes for Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Marisol.
I just want to take this moment to say that I really love this show, and I really love listening to all you guys sharing your opinions. I really like that. I mean, that's. I hope that didn't sound sarcastic.
Are you running for
I meant that
office?
genuinely.
I thought you were about to. I thought you were about to drop like a really controversial opinion.
Well, then that's
Like,
on me.
you're
That
just
means that I'm an
building up.
asshole. That I make people think that I'm about to do that. Sorry if it gets muddled sometimes. No, I really do. I really love listening to layered and actual, good and bads, pros and cons about films. And things that I don't agree with at all. I love listening to all of it. But I respect all of you guys, is what I'm trying to say. I almost said Rise of Steel.
If only.
Rise of Steel is the prequel to the Shaq movie. But
that was Blue Chips.
It's coming. It's coming too. Like at once Blade becomes a hit, we're getting a Steel prequel.
Meteor Man returns, Rise of Steel, you name it.
Hell yeah. I'm there for it. but Rise of the Planet of the Apes is I'll just say it flat out. It's my least favorite of the new three. It always, even when the very first time I saw it, it just felt like most of a movie. It just didn't feel, it felt like the first two acts of a film. And I guess that itch was really scratched. I don't think it just comes down to simply needing like action. It just, that itch was scratched with Dawn and War. It just like, I was like, this is a great setup, but like, it still to this day doesn't feel complete quite as a film to me. I think that the entire Rise of the Planet of the Apes can be put into the first two acts of a film and have a killer third act. The whole climax on the Golden Gate doesn't quite scratch that itch for me. And not only that, but just because I think I can never get over the fact that obviously we all know where it's going when the movie starts. And that's not the point. The point is to try to engage with the backstory and Caesar and his relationship with James Franco. And I understand that there is a lot to dig through that, but it just doesn't, it doesn't resonate. That right there what goes on in Rise doesn't resonate as much for me. I feel so much more, and I'm gutted so much more with things that are happening in Dawn and War than I am with Rise. But I still think it's a really solid film. It just doesn't quite hit the heights that I think even that new trilogy hits, emotionally, certainly spectacle wise. But if it wasn't as strong as it was, we wouldn't have gotten the sequels. So I have to give it its due credit for that. But it's my least favorite of the three. But I still think a solid film. Man of Steel was the Superman movie that I had been waiting for as a superhero diehard or Superman diehard. This was what I wanted. Superman. I love him, and he had been such a Boy Scout for so many years, and I was so ready for somebody to just be like, let's get messier with Superman. Let's instill seeds of doubt. Let's make him more complex. Let's add layers to complicate him. We've gotten used to him being ideal and everybody just cheering when he shows up, but let's throw questions into the mix. It was what I was waiting for. I was so waiting for the Snyder take on Superman. I love it. I love that you make Superman more interesting to all the people who complain that Superman's boring, and that he's just a gigantic Boy Scout and he's boring. This added the complexity and the layers and the interesting conversations to challenge, like Dan, you were saying, like mythologize, whatever you said, much more better than I can, about Superman. And I love that he becomes badass. I love that he becomes dangerous. I love that he beats people's asses in the movie. I'm okay with him killing Zod. I'm okay with that. I love that he actually becomes dangerous and physically imposing, not just like, I'm going to stand here and I could probably mess you up, but I'm not going to. He actually demolishes shit in this movie. And I was here for that, and I love it. And I love for Superman to feel dangerous and for him to feel powerful and feel threatening and feel really dangerous to people. I also think, though, I know this is something a lot of people agree on, it's overkill, though. I think Snyder goes way too far, and I think that we have like 50 minutes of like sudden action for the last 50 minutes of the film, and I think that is way too much. And I was numb, by the time we're getting into that final, like it is too much. Like there's so much destruction, and he just goes all in. He's been building up this movie so patiently and so beautifully and so heroically, and then it just the ball drops and it's just nonstop noise and action for the last 50 minutes. I would change that. I would trim that. I would trim a solid 20 minutes off of all of that. But I still think that Man of Steel is terrific. I talked about how much I appreciate the new things that Cavill brought to the table. He is the modern Superman. He is intimidating. He brings that edge to modern Superman, but is lighter on the Clark Kent aspect. But can't have it all. Still, Man of Steel definitely over Rise of the Planet of the Apes, though I still think that movie is still it's still a good movie. Just everything I already said. Man of Steel.
Mara.
I've softened a bit on Man of Steel because of constant rewatching, because of a thing we do where we have to know a lot of stuff about things. I love the score. I really, really do. And when I think about Rise of the Planet of the Apes, it's not my favorite of the new trilogy. However, I think it's very important to say that when I say it's not my favorite, I mean that my favorite is Dawn, and the other two are a microscopic amount lower than it, because I think that they all stand pretty much at the same level. I think the thing that has to distinguish it for me, regardless of like looking, I have to look at it with just one bulk viewpoint, because if I go piecemeal, it's going to be like more rough, I think. So I'm going to look at third acts. And I think that one of the things that really, oh, sorry, are we getting an echo?
Yeah, we are just.
Is it us?
Do you want to just try? No, I think Marisol, do you want to just put your try headphones, please?
Sorry.
Hi.
Hey, you made it an hour and 12 minutes. That
was impressive.
We had a good run.
You made it as long as wanted.
That was good.
But when I look at the third act of Man of Steel, I can't help but look at the rampant destruction and the fact that and not even just like looking forward, but like it's never actually confronted the scale of death and destruction that he allowed to happen. Because, for example, like Superman 2, you've got your other Zod who literally spells out the fact that he's going to try to exploit Superman's affection for humanity and try to keep the fight, there with the innocent collateral damage. And they confront that and they dissect that a little bit. And the idea that it, to me, appears like he doesn't give a single fuck about humans, because there's not even a single idea of maybe I should just like try to fight this guy over not by the skyscraper that probably has condos and stuff in it and like children's, but just also the scope and scale of it.
Says fuck condos. So
exactly. Yeah. Maybe he just thought he was only getting the 1%ers, maybe that was his idea. Maybe it was a statement about class. Who knows? But I do like the third act of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and the fact that it is pretty small, I think totally works for me. I'm not the biggest human being fan of James Franco, but I'm a really big fan of the character he plays. And especially to me as a scientist, I thrive on that idea that scientific discovery done for the most pure and giving and charitable of reasons can fuck everybody. And I really, really like that, because he just wanted to help his dad not have Alzheimer's and he fucked over everybody. So I don't I know that I just kind of harped on the third act of Man of Steel, but I definitely like it a little bit more every time I do rewatch it, but it just can't hold a candle in a which one must I vote for race, despite, again, that score is just like it slaps. But I'm gonna vote for the Primates.
Taylor.
I don't have quite as much to say as everyone else. I think we've pretty much covered a lot of things that I would bring up discussing both of these movies. For me, I think I've always had a bit of a higher opinion on Man of Steel than there is generally, or was generally. I think people are more coming around to it recently. But when it came out, I was very high on the movie. And I still enjoy it a lot. It's still kind of my top tier DCEU, World of DC, whatever we're calling it these days. That whole deal. Mm-hmm. It's in my top tier of those films. And it's not perfect by any means. I do agree with Marisol. The end of the movie is a lot. There's some stuff that really could have been, if they just would have combed through, I think, the last 30 minutes of the film and really had a look at what it was that we were getting. There could have been some editing there that would have benefited the movie a lot. But I really do enjoy the movie. Is it perfect? No. But I do enjoy watching it. And it just has a little bit of an edge for me. So I'm going to vote for Man of Steel.
Parker.
Yeah, I am with Dan that I think Man of Steel may be the most egregious example, or one of them, of fourth act syndrome. He sort of alluded to that earlier, but the fact that we got to spend 20 minutes kicking the shit out of each other in Kansas, and then we got to go have him get his ass kicked in India, and now we got to have our ass kicked in Metropolis. It is mind-numbing. Like, it is bad. It's really bad. And I also don't mind the next step. I don't mind Zod. He's making a conscious choice to be the last Kryptonian. I think that thematically has a lot of weight. I just don't care after seeing 40 minutes of people being thrown through walls. I don't like I think I really like in Man of Steel the score, obviously, the first flight. I like his relationship with Ma and Pa Kent, especially that relationship between Pa Kent. I don't necessarily like necessarily all the messaging that Pa Kent is giving out, but I do think the relationship is very sweet and is explored very well, and they're very great actors and well-written relationships there. Michael Shannon has no clue what movie he's in. I don't think he's very good in this movie. I love him as an actor, but boy, does he not know what he's doing. I maybe not know, that may be a bit harsh. I just think he is not very good in the role, and he's much better when he's more contained and less big. If that makes sense. One of my favorite line readings ever in the DCU, though, is Russell Crowe telling him that they had a kid. At the very start of the movie, he goes, "We've had a child, son. A boy child." And he says, one of my favorite lines in the entire And the entire a boy child. I like say that. I like will text that to my sister like every once in a while. She'll be like talking about having kids or like our cousins or whatever, and just be like, is it a boy child? Like all the time. Hilarious line. Unintentional comedy for sure. I love Henry Cavill in the role. I do like his relationship with Amy Adams. I like how Lois sort of has her own agenda and really is her own character and has her own agency. I think there are some good things about Man of Steel, but boy, I just think there is so much that's botched in that movie. And Rise of the Planet of the Apes is like damn near perfect for me. I love not just the third act. I do think the third act really works because there's some foreshadowing about Koba. There's some foreshadowing about Caesar, not really wanting the leadership position, but begrudgingly accepting it. And the relationships with everybody, every human that he interacts with too. He grows up not having a single human really against him in his life, maybe the neighbors, but then like being thrown into captivity with Draco Malfoy and with Brian Cox, just changes him. And he doesn't really resent humans, but he doesn't trust them anymore. And I think that is really well explored in the movie. And anytime you get Andy Serkis biting somebody's finger off, I'm going to vote for that. So Rise of the Planet of the Apes for sure.
So that's and Return of the King then.
Yeah.
Great. I get the deciding vote.
You get to be the tiebreaker.
Okay.
Ooh.
I think there is a perfect 2 hour and 5 minute Superman movie in Man of Steel. The problem is it's 2 hours and 25 minutes. The movie, the third act should end when they destroy the ship. That's the natural end of the third act. And that's when Superman and Zod should also have their massive fight while the ship is being destroyed. And then it goes on for another 20 minutes. And it is just so mind-numbingly overwhelming and does really just hit you over the head a lot. Rise of the Planet of the Apes has probably one of the best moments I've had in a theater in the last decade, which is when Caesar steps up and says no. I will never forget being in the theater when that happened, because you could hear a pin drop. The entire auditorium was just silent and just completely in awe of what was happening on the screen. And these movies are this is really tough for me, because Rise for me has gone down a little bit since I've seen it, because Dawn and War are so good. Whereas in Man of Steel has gone up mostly because I'm not the biggest fan of the sequels. And I think what Man of Steel does really well in a lot of aspects, I really do love. I really love the relationship of the ideas that Pa Kent has of you. I don't want you to reveal who you are, because I know what humanity does to others. And I really like that idea that he wasn't prepared to trust the world. And this whole movie is about Clark Kent learning to trust humanity. I just don't think it pays off quite as much as how I think Rise of the Planet of the Apes pays off Caesar and the end of that film and setting up the sequel. So I am going to vote for Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And
Jacob,
yes,
get out right now. Leave.
You can come stay with us
right now. Out. You literally created this bracket to vote against. You literally created this bracket to vote against the movies that I like. Literally.
I'm not going
time.
to in
every
2
single
minutes.
time.
I'm not in 2 minutes.
Out.
Can I ask a legit Superman question though?
So,
why is there so much baby boy peen in Superman movies? I just need to know. Why do they insist on showing me little baby boy penis?
We all know he's male.
Yeah, he's a boy child. We knew.
We know. They say explicitly he's a boy child.
All right. Next
Not
up.
rhetorical. I want to know.
I don't know.
Mark, is it artistic?
Yeah,
okay,
Jake.
it's art.
I don't know. Kryptonians are the low key nudist alien colony that we never knew we needed.
They would be.
They have digital clothes.
I've got the answer now. Marisol fixed it. No longer a broken human. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. This is a nice debreather. Spawn versus Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Ooh.
Is it though?
Is it bad?
What is-
Exactly.
I'm
I think Robbie said he wanted to go first.
I can go
So
first.
just to
that's
give
fine.
some context, heavy metal, Spawn beat heavy metal,
Yep.
Okay.
and
Spider-Man 2 must have beaten the Transformers.
it
It must
did.
have
It beat Dark of the Moon.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Marisol, Marisol, I forgot to mention. Rise of the Planet of the Apes beat Men in Black. So
Yeah, I think she remembers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jacob.
You know that.
Thanks
know
for
that
that,
part?
boy child. Thanks.
You know that part in Scott Pilgrim versus the World where he's like, "Thank you, Julie." All right.
well, with that,
Thank you, Jacob.
Marisol, would you like to go first?
Look, this I'm being brought back to my Howard the Duck voting days with this one.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I can't think about it either because I don't remember any.
we
of it.
weren't
He's gonna come back around.
It was
before
a
too
one-way
long.
guys
blackout
weren't
night for
there.
a lot of us.
I'm
I
never
think.
forgiving anyone who
Sure
voted
was,
for
Marisol,
Howard
sure
the Duck. I
was.
will hold a grudge for the rest of my days on this earth for everyone who voted for Howard the Duck.
I'm proud of that night. I'm proud of that night.
But
Okay.
look,
Yeah, but
I was
see, Adam,
coerced.
you don't have to live with me. You're not the one that has to deal with my spite every single day for voting for Howard the Duck.
I am.
He
I am
earned it.
just- the gist, the whole the nitty gritty of it all is that I am just not a fan of the Amazing Spider-Mans, either of them, and it just gets worse with the second one. And man, I can't tell you how unnecessary these films are, and I just. Boy, it just Spawn is a terrible movie. But is it an unnecessary one? There's an argument to be made that like Spawn might be a misfire, but I'm okay with the first film that Michael Jai White gets to lead. You know, like I'm okay with any time Michael Jai White gets to be the lead in a film, and I'm okay with. The point is that I'm going to vote for Spawn over The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it's not because I think Spawn is even a okay film. Like it's really bad. It's Super Mario Brothers it level. Like it's poorly made, and I think I feel there's certain movies that you feel a little bit embarrassed while you're watching them, for the people who make them. Spawn is one of those things I felt when I watched it, where I felt embarrassed for the people making it. But I think this is really a testament to The Amazing Spider-Man 2, how much I don't like this film. I just think that I think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is just so unnecessary in terms of franchise filmmaking. I can't emphasize enough how unnecessary it is after everything that came before it, and what we get from it. And I would like to say that, spoiler alert, I would like to say that you feel something when Gwen Stacy dies. Kudos for them to having the balls to kill the love interest, but it's wasted. It's wasted on a mini franchise, a mini series of films that don't deserve it. Spawn.
Taylor.
I'm just gonna say this right now, and it's not to discourage anyone, but if Spawn moves through, I'm literally going to leave the stream. Like, I'm not coming back, and you guys can vote without me. Just as a warning, I'm not doing it. I've put up with a lot, and I'm not putting up with that. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 at least gives me a moist cast to look at that I enjoy. Andrew Garfield
doesn't do anything for you?
Give it to me. Yep, that's all I got. Spawn, if it moves on, I'm literally this is a promise and a threat.
I know.
I will leave the room and you guys can go on without me. Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I don't think you walked out of the room when we tried to watch Spawn for your study.
Yeah, I did. So if it moves on, I'm literally leaving because I already tried to kill it once, and the immense amount of bush and heavy metal couldn't even get us that. So what is it good for? Nothing.
Adam.
Technically, I mean, Martin Sheen's in both films, right? Doesn't he? He makes some kind of appearance in Amazing Spider-Man 2, doesn't he?
No, I don't think he's in Amazing.
No, he's only in the first Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Dennis Leary comes back as Ghost Dad, but
Yeah, that's true.
They even do flashback footage of him getting killed in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Obviously, that film made a huge impression on me and lots of people. It's with Amazing Spider-Man 2, they learned none of the lessons of Spider-Man 3 and effectively made Spider-Man 3 a better film to watch, in my opinion. When I rewatched Amazing Spider-Man 2, I was just taken aback by how broken up this movie is. It's at war with itself in every single act, and then Dane DeHaan coming in as Harry and rushing the whole Green Goblin story arc is incredibly underwhelming. None of it is earned, and there are just moments in a vacuum that are kind of nice, but that's about it. Taylor, I'm sorry. I know Spawn's bad. I know it is, but it's the only Spawn movie, live action Spawn movie that we have so far. And, I know Blade gets most of the credit because it's a better movie, but Spawn, Michael Jai White made it out there in theaters, and, there's something to be said for that. And I also I am very interested in the legacy of this character. I like the source material a lot. It's not executed terribly well. This movie could be recut as a really cool music video. It's one of those. Plot-wise, it's not so great, but it's a bit shorter than The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It obviously now has decidedly more Martin Sheen in it, so that wins it some extra votes for me. But yeah, what is this bracket? Spawn, Chaos, Violator. That's the name of the clown. That wasn't just yeah.
I was picking up what you were putting down.
Yeah.
You didn't just want to yell that at the top of your lungs?
Robert?
I also vehemently dislike both of these movies, and probably still voted for both of them in the last round. Spawn, I think, is just an absolute mess. It is the epitome of, hey, we could do cool visual effects instead of actually making a good script or editing well or having a good story being told. It just throws you into the effects, which have aged horribly, and Spawn is awful. Amazing Spider-Man, equally awful, if not more so. Way too long. Rhino is atrocious. I don't like Dane DeHaan. He's got a very punchable face. He looks like a methed out clown in this movie. It's really rough. Electro is one of my least favorite. Electro is probably my least favorite screen Spider-Man villain. That being said, I'm still voting for Amazing Spider-Man 2, and here's why. There is one scene in that movie which is maybe the best pure-hearted Spider-Man scene ever on film, and across every Spider-Man film that there is. The scene where he talks to the kid who's getting bullied in the alley and takes his science project home with him is it's the best Spider-Man scene in any movie. He's like, "Oh, did you build this yourself?" And he fixes it with his webbing. That is the epitome of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's protecting the nerdy kid. That is just so pure Spider-Man. There's no other scene in any Spider-Man movie that comes close to that scene. And as much as I hate this movie, that scene puts it above Spawn for sure.
Dan.
These both are stink piles. They are not good movies. Neither one of them. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, huge for me, hugely anticipated. Kicked off the summer with a real fart. Just bad, not good. Oh, too long, way too long. Again, too many villains. I don't know what the worst work Paul Giamatti has done ever anywhere. I haven't seen everything he's ever done, but I can say with a good amount of certainty that this is the worst work he's ever done. Just bad, but just not good. Spawn, I remember seeing, and again, 14, I think, when that movie came out. Target market. Shouldn't have been allowed to see it, but it was rated PG-13. It was rated PG-13. Well, I could go see it. That was the rule. After I turned 13, I could go see whatever PG-13 movie I wanted.
I know.
It wasn't the HBO series. That's right.
No. So they're both not good movies. However, I have from time to time attempted to return to Spawn. That movie, and I don't say this about many movies. That movie is unwatchable.
I knew you were going to say that.
It is unwatchable on any level. I derive no enjoyment of any type from watching Spawn. Not on an ironic level or a so bad it's good level. It is unwatchable, and there's some wonderfully talented people. Michael Jai White, God bless him. He brought us Black Dynamite, and he should always get that credit for that and more. But Spawn is unwatchable. So I have to go with The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the Battle of the Shit Piles because I can watch one of them and I cannot watch the other.
Mara?
Okay. I'm going to be really brief and talk about things that are not related to this bracket at all for the most part. This makes me really frustrated. So generally speaking, there's always outliers, but generally speaking, the opinion of the Amazing Spider-Man films, very low. En masse, people deride them. They say they're bad. They say Andrew Garfield's a bad Spider-Man, a bad Peter Parker, whatever you may, put into that basket that gets called a garbage can. Why are so many people so freaking excited about Andrew Garfield being in the new Spider-Man movie if they fucking hate his movies? I don't understand this. Like, this is the epitome of
groupthink.
Bandwagoning. This is bandwagoning to the extreme, and I don't like it. That all being said, one movie has farts and one movie has somebody's head cracking like an egg, and I'm going to vote for the Brain Bucket Massacre in Amazing Spider-Man 2.
All right. With that, Amazing Spider-Man 2 does make it through.
Oh, good. I don't have to light everything on fire. That's fortunate for
I've
me.
never
That
heard
is
her
very
death compared to
fortunate for me.
eggshells before, Mara. That's new. That shit's new.
Technically, a human skull is basically an eggshell, and when you're a little baby, it's all
Don't even be
broken
talking
because your
about- no.
fontanelles aren't fused yet. It's like a cracked egg, man.
No bueno.
All right. And our last one for round 2, Terminator Genisys versus
Can I go
Captain
first?
America. Yes, Mara.
Captain America.
No, wow, Captain Marvel. Wow, Captain America would have been a very different movie. That would have been very
Is it
different.
because you were watching All American Boy back there, just doing his
Probably.
best
I don't
scene
know.
of the movie? Is that why?
All right, Mara.
I'm going to say it, and this time it's going to be true. I am the only one here that's going to vote for Terminator Genisys. Not ironically, I made Dan watch it on Veterans Day. I'm not saying it's a great movie, but I hate Captain Marvel. It is my least favorite MCU movie. It probably will be till the end of time. Again, low-hanging fruit feminism, laziness. I don't like it. I wish they had given a great actress a reason to act, because she is way better than what she's able to do in that movie. In like the teaser footage, like the stinger footage of her for Endgame is better than her in this whole movie. And I don't like it. I don't need heavy-handed, if you push a girl down, she's gonna get back up. Oh my God, she's strong. Like, I don't need that. I would rather like just show someone being strong instead of like demonstrate it through their actions instead of a montage of her being shoved on the ground and stuff. I don't like it. I'm gonna go make a root beer float. Terminator Genesis is going to lose, and that's fine.
Can I have a small
Can you
one?
bring me one,
you can.
but without the ripple? Just the float.
By the way, I don't hate anybody that loves this movie. If it's your favorite MCU film, by golly, I wish I had loved it.
Dan.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and break my heart, Dan.
we did recently rewatch Terminator Genesis the other night, and I have to say I didn't think it was as much of a garbage pile as I did the first time I saw it, or even the second time. It's just I'm not very high on Captain Marvel personally. I just I think it's just, I don't know. I think it's a little too on the nose for me. Like the needle drops and stuff just have always bothered me, and I just think it's really very unsubtle. But I understand why so many people take so much from it. And again, I'm not gonna, as I think Roxy, I first heard from her, I'm not gonna yuck somebody's yum if they love Captain Marvel. It just didn't do it for me. But between the two, yeah, I got to go with Captain Marvel. I think that Terminator Genesis is not good, and and it had kind of potential to be, but it's just so messy, and yeah, I'm not a big. This is actually not as far apart as you would think, but at the same time, I'm going with Captain Marvel here.
Adam.
I understand the sentiment because and real quick, internet check. Am I good?
Yeah, yes, you're good.
I got the swirls of death while you guys were talking there for a minute, so I'm just making all right.
Love a good swirl.
Yeah, it's great. So these two movies, like Terminator Genesis, has novelty value when I revisit it because I know what I'm getting into when I watch that movie. And even though like it's easy to be hard on Terminator 3 through Dark Fate, I still like that franchise. I like the themes of the Terminator franchise. I like what it's grasping at. And Genesis tries to do too much all at once. It muddles the rules of time travel terribly, and needlessly so. But there's a lot of good comedy in Genesis, both intentional and unintentional, which makes it fun to go back. Captain Marvel, I do agree, is a bit stoic and paint by numbers as an origin story in certain regards. But the reason I do enjoy it for what it is because I just been excited to see that character on screen for a while. I think Brie Larson has gone on to fulfill the promise of that character already in the Avengers movies, and I'm very excited for the upcoming sequel. I think that they can go nowhere but up. I think it lends a foundation, but it's very slight for an epic superhero movie, which is why I think it's hard for people to get excited about it. And I understand that, but it's still a watchable film for me. And it was nice to get Clark Gregg back in the mix. It's fun to see him back on screen. So it exists. So now we have Captain Marvel doing everything in the present day, which is cool, and we can run with that now. But it's a decent little movie. Genesis, it's so goofy, it's fun, but it's not good. It just isn't. So I'll vote for Captain Marvel in this one. Yeah.
Marisol?
I guess I don't know. I've talked to maybe no more than maybe like 20 people ever about Captain Marvel, so I'm not going to say like all of people in the world think this about Captain Marvel, but I get the sense.
No, please speak for the masses. I think you should.
Right. When in Rome, but I just I neither lean extremely in one direction or the other. I'm firmly like in the middle on Captain Marvel. I think it's a decent MCU movie. Definitely not my favorite, but I enjoy it, and I just think it's far, 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 far from the worst. It's one of those weird things where like the way the way that Brie Larson is in that movie is a breath of fresh air to me, because I like how this, whether it is, and here's the thing, whether it's intentional or unintentional, whether it's just bad direction or it's good direction or it's deliberate character direction, like Carol, she's so low key and she's so matter of fact and she's so droll, and that is extremely relatable to me and something that is refreshing for me to see in a female character. That she's not there to be, I'm just so like klutzy and I'm charming, but I'm super charming, but I'm super strong, and like she doesn't need to be any of these extremes. She's not there to impress anybody with anything, and she just is. This is just my take, what I was absorbing when I was watching it. And she wasn't about anybody's shit in that movie. Anybody's. She's so deadpan. You feel it through the screen. And I really related to that. And I really liked seeing that from a female character on screen, from seeing that from the female lead of a film that didn't need to be either super sexy or super funny or super endearing. She's so klutzy, it's endearing, or like just some exaggerated personality trait. She just was. She just is, and she has 1,000% confidence in herself as she is, and she was a constant, and she was a steady. And that's one of the things that's really grown on me with Captain Marvel. Again, whether that was completely intentional, it depends on your take, whether you like the movie or not. Some people are like, "Oh, she's no personality. She's so like, it's terrible." You have Brie Larson, who just won Best Actress, and she's doing nothing in this movie, or they're just whatever way you fall about it, whether it was intentional or not. That's not important to me. It's just how the character landed for me, and it landed well for me in that regard. And I like Captain Marvel, and I'm super excited for the sequel. I do honestly think the sequel will be better. I think a lot of sequels are, and I think that this one, they're so conscious about it that they will take it to a different direction based on how people reacted to the first one. I like Captain Marvel. I will easily watch it again. I like the adventures. I like the cat. I'm not angry about a lot of things in Captain Marvel. I think it's very decent. I don't have anything more interesting to say about it. So I'll talk about Terminator Genesis, which I think is the example of, I think it's the closest we can get to a film human centipeding itself.
That's incredible.
I don't. Genesis lost me just with its premise, and I got angrier the more I watched it throughout the film. And I just think you already have this like really intricate time loop thing, just even with the first Terminator movie, and I don't get why you have to time loop the time loop. And I think it is so clear of a franchise out of ideas, and you're digging even deeper into the butthole of a franchise and mining it where I don't think you need to, where I think you need to step back and take another idea or talk about other characters in this franchise. And that's from the beginning. That's a roadblock. The 1.5 times that I've watched Genesis, and it infuriates me. And the level of, I think, weak filmmaking on display, weak directing, weak acting, shitty dialogue throughout that movie does not help anything. I just think are the preliminary problems with the film. But I'll kind of leave it at that. It's clear I don't really like it. And I'll let somebody else talk. But my point is that I'm going to vote for Captain Marvel. and Terminator Genesis, I reiterate, is cinematic human centipede coverage.
I'm not gonna lie, it's one of the greatest comparisons I've ever heard.
I love the implication that human centipede is not the cinematic human centipede.
Yeah, Genesis frustrated me because we sat down and watched all of the Terminator films because I hadn't seen most of them recently. And this one frustrated me. There were things about pretty much all of them that we watched that I at least had things that I was excited about, like things that I had fun with, things that I enjoyed. Like each of them gave me something. This one, I was like, I don't like the casting. Like none of the cast has chemistry together. And then I kept turning to Jacob and being like, is this a plot point that I'm supposed to understand already? Do they explain this later in the movie? Like I said that about 5 times when we were about 45 minutes into it. I was like, did I miss something? Are they ever going to explain this? Have they explained this already? And your answer was just like, kind of, no, maybe, really. I don't know. And normally I'm pretty good with just going with a movie and like letting it get to where like, you know, I try to keep my questions in and just go with it. And this one about 45 minutes and I was like, I'm already so lost that if I don't ask questions now, I don't know what's going to become of any of this. So this one really is a miss for me. There's not a lot that I take out of it, which I can at least do with a lot of the other Terminator films. I've gone on my spiel about Captain Marvel already, but I'll just say a couple of things because I don't want to go on a tangent again about why I love Captain Marvel. It's in a previous episode. If everyone has missed it, you can find it when we've talked about Captain Marvel before. But for me, Captain Marvel did for me what the first Wonder Woman movie did for a lot of people. It really made me emotional. It felt like seeing a superhero on screen, but also a female character just in general on screen that I felt very related to in a way that Marisol was talking about, where she's stoic, but she doesn't have to be a character that's over the top. She doesn't have to have this very obvious kind of personality to cling on to. She doesn't have to be overly quirky. She doesn't have to be whatever. And I feel like a lot of the disingenuous criticisms, not the genuine ones, but a lot of the disingenuous criticisms that came out about this movie where, you know, she doesn't have a personality, like she doesn't even smile, you know, like all the classics, all of the why isn't she smiling in this movie and why, you know, which they address in the movie, but obviously these people didn't watch the movie actually, so it's fine. That doesn't matter. But it felt like a character that I relate to because a lot of the times I feel like I'm that way where I'm kind of stoic, kind of more quiet, kind of just don't want to put up with bullshit and just kind of don't say anything. And it just felt like a character that wasn't trying to force being something because that's what the audience maybe was expecting, or because the people around her were wanting out of her, for her to be super expressive or super anything, really. And I thought the performance was really great. I thought Brie Larson handled that specific element of the character very well. Again, don't know if that was the intention or if that's just how it came across and worked for me specifically. But I really just felt like it was a good character arc of her kind of figuring out who she even is, because she doesn't even really know who she is through most of the film, and just she felt very guarded to me in a way that I can also relate to, where she's trying to figure out who she is, and so she has this wall almost where she's just not giving anything of herself. She's really reined back in her personality because she's just figuring it out. And I really, really enjoyed the movie a lot. It made me cry. It made me very emotional, which is clearly a hot take opinion, which is fine. So I'm going to vote for Captain Marvel because I love it very much. And Terminator Genesis is successfully the only Terminator movie that made me go, why is this happening? Why am I doing this? So there we go.
Robert.
Like a lot of other people on this panel, I'm also, can we just say, when was the last time that Adam moved? I
know it's like yeah, weekend at Adam's right now.
I thought it was weekend. Yeah.
It's a toss up between the internet and whether he.
I thought you were just zoning. That's okay. You can zone.
Yeah, I'm on my second beer.
Genesis. This may make some people puke on the panel. Genesis was the first Terminator movie I ever saw.
Bless you.
Was, what they call a mistake. because I got turned off from the franchise real quick, and then didn't see the first 1 and 2 until probably only about like a year and a half, 2 years later. I'm not a fan of Terminator Genesis. I think it is the one that is the most fast and loose, the most messy, the most unconcerned and to its own fault about the timeline. It's just the one that screws up the most stuff in the franchise. Jai Courtney, I think, is just a brick in this movie and just doesn't give anybody anything to deal with. I like Emilia Clarke as Sarah Connor. I think she does a good job of bringing a fresh new take on the character that isn't just a Linda Hamilton impersonation. I like how she has her own agency. There's just a lot that I'm not thrilled about with that movie. Captain Marvel, I also don't love. It's also in like probably my bottom 5-6 MCU movies. Not a big fan. I do really like Jude Law. I know the whole like twist thing is not played very well, but I just like when Jude Law is in movies. And of course, Ben Mendelsohn again. You can't vote against him. You're supposed to be a science guy. It's just an incredible line. I need to learn how to do a proper Ben Mendelsohn impersonation. I want to learn how to do it like the next 2 months.
Stuff a bunch of cotton balls in your mouth.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
Do the Marlon Brando thing.
Right, very like hairy. It's supposed to be my science guy. But like there's just so much that I really don't like in Captain Marvel. But I do still like it more than Genesis. Although Genesis has the better needle drop because Genesis has a One Republic song. Love Runs Out by One Republic is one of their that's my favorite band of all time. It's hard for me to vote against One Republic, but I think Captain Marvel is a better movie, if only slightly.
That's why everyone signed up for Terminator Genesis.
And
they knew One Republic was going to be on that soundtrack. They're like, well, hell yeah. It's from like their second worst album, but it's still a great song.
It does make it through. All right. Round 3. We got 4 final matchups. These are going to be in a random order because I don't want to have the last one be our last conversation.
All right.
So I'm going to have slight random order. Oh, no, I'll tell you.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay.
All right. This is our first one, though.
All right.
Star Trek Nemesis versus Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Part 1. Mara.
Deathly Hallows 1 done.
Okay.
I mean, we talked at length.
Marisol.
Yeah, like this is not a contest. Definitely Hallows Part 1. For all the reasons I already said.
Adam.
The thing about the planet Remus in Star Trek, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
A+.
Yeah, no, it's as much as I love Data singing George Gershwin show tunes, I'm going with Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1.
That is good.
Parker.
I am gonna take it just a couple seconds and bring up some other scenes from Hallows Part 1 that I really, really love. The scene in the tent where Harry and Hermione dance is one of just like the purest moments of levity and like platonic love that is really a whole theme across the entire franchise. I think the culmination of Ron's arc is in this movie when he has to destroy the locket, and that's not just because we see Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson make out. It's I actually think that's a really, really great scene. What else? Yeah, I already mentioned Dobby's death, but everything at Malfoy Manor I think is adapted really well, except for maybe Pettigrew's death. But like other than that, I think everything that Bellatrix is doing in that scene. There's just so much of Deathly Hallows Part 1 that just fucking rocks. The wedding is really good. The Tale of the Brothers. How did nobody say that yet? The animated scene of the Tale of the Three Brothers is like one of the most beautiful scenes in the entire franchise. So yeah, Deathly Hallows Part 1.
All right, Taylor.
I concur. Yes. Deathly Hallows Part 1.
All right, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 makes it through to the final 32. Ooh. We have another Harry Potter movie in the final 32.
If only
Adam's delighted.
We would stop voting for them if they were worse movies, but fortunately they're all really good. So.
Hey, for serious. The only thing I will say too is that like what you just jogged my memory with, Parker, is that the thing about Harry and Hermione dancing, the reason that scene is so great, and you're saying it's platonic, but like there's definitely sexual tension in that moment. Yeah. And that is a testament to the movies, because the movies leaned into Harry and Hermione, made Harry and Hermione a thing more than the books ever did. Harry and Hermione were clearly not a thing in the books. And what I do think is interesting, whether they started it like for the right reasons or not in the movies, just because they needed like the star of the movie to have like a like continuous love interest in the series. Like they might have done that in the beginning with Hermione, but like I do like the movies for creating that tension of the possible love triangle that was like absent from the books. Like that just wasn't
even
in
like in Godric's Hollow. Like there's the same stuff when they like are walking around on Christmas Eve. Like there's definitely there's something there.
Yeah, the movies do. I'm not mad at that, huh?
At the end of that dance, I feel it too. Like they dance, and then like there's a moment. Like maybe I'm just imagining, but there's a moment for like half a second where it's like they're thinking about it, and then they're like, "No, we're not going to do that."
Yeah, they're like, "Is this the end? Should we do this?" You know, Harry was thinking it.
All right.
Well, he is the chosen one. Yeah.
All right.
I do think we should
going
recut
to
that scene to Data singing Blue Skies, personally.
Oh, that'd be great. I love when Dumbledore apologizes for cock blocking Harry at the beginning of. I think it's half. Blood.
Yeah, it's half blood.
Exactly. Magical night from you, Harry.
She truly was very pretty. I'll get off at 11. You can tell me all about that tosser Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I'd love to know how that would have actually gone, where he had to then be like, oh. That's
I think
actually...
you can tell pretty. I can give you 3 bullet points right now. We'll do what we've done with the show. I can tell you how that night ended.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
I think we have actually lost. Oh no, he's back. He's back. All right.
Oh, that's a good image to freeze
That is
on.
a great first
Great.
Yeah.
All
Bottoms
right.
up,
Next up, we have. Okay, so again, we're going in a weird order because I don't. There's a big one that I want to end on.
All right. Next.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 versus Captain Marvel. Adam, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Good.
Excellent.
Good.
Yes.
Mara and I clearly have Verizon.
Captain Marvel has my vote. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 remains a bad film. Stop while I'm ahead.
Yeah, man, some movies in this bracket just get all the breaks of just like, I don't know.
You're allowed to say fast at least once.
Yeah, I know. I just whatever.
You're so like nonplussed about this.
The passion is strong with this. I
don't feel strongly about either of these two movies. Honestly, I really don't. So it's like, what's the
Could
point?
you not love Eggshell Head?
Welcome to me voting for most of this bracket, Dan. Like, do I have to pick one? All right.
I mean, it's not going to go. Well, this is famous last words. It's not going to go through.
No, they're not famous last words because I didn't say them.
It's not going to go through, but I'll vote for Amazing Spider-Man 2.
All right. Robert.
Yeah, I think Captain Marvel just like is a more coherent movie. Like I don't like it very much, but I do think it's just like a better edited, better visual effects, like better screenplay. Like it's just a better put together movie. I don't like either of these movies very much, but I dislike Captain Marvel less. I just think it's more coherently made. Amazing Spider-Man 2 clearly just they had no fucking clue what they were doing. The everything with Itsy Bitsy Spider, everything with Electro is just atrocious. It's atrocious. How it's like Jamie Foxx before he became Electro as a nerd is like honestly insulting. Like it's so bad. And even that one scene of like true brilliance and really understanding the character is just shat on by the rest of the movie. I also vote for Sky High. The Commander and Jetstream just crashed the house party. It's a pretty tense scene. But Captain Marvel, I think, is just a more coherent film.
Mara.
I like Robbie's reasoning 100%, except I dislike Captain Marvel more. So I'm going to vote for the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Marisol?
Yeah, a lot easier for me, though. I trust me, I sympathize with like just the when you feel like you're voting between two farts of a movie. This is not that for me. I do actually like a bunch of things about Captain Marvel. While I don't think it's an amazing movie, I do like a bunch of things about it. Certainly much more than I ever would like about the Amazing Spider-Man 2. So for the reasons that I said before, it's Captain Marvel for me. Yeah. That's it.
All right. I'm going to give Captain Marvel the enthusiastic vote it deserves because this panel is crazy. So Captain Marvel.
All right. And with that, Captain Marvel makes it through. Okay. We got our final two tough ones. These are the ones that this is why I'm like, okay, no, this is what we're doing.
Let's do it. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Snowpiercer versus Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Yikes.
Oh, wait till the next one.
Maybe I won't, Jacob.
You
broke Dan.
I'm sorry, Dan. Adam?
Come here.
Yeah, give Dan a rest.
Oh no!
Get that man a snack pack.
This is a Josh Horowitz moment. I want to go home.
Yeah, you do nothing but lift our spirits, Blunden. You're a wonderful inspiration from across the way. So between these two, I think I'd be fine with either of these moving through. They're both really good movies. And I already spoke about Snowpiercer. Everything everyone said about Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I agree with. And I wasn't. I didn't think it's not like I see it as some deeply inferior film to Man of Steel. I voted for Man of Steel just because I'm personally passionate about that movie. But Rise of the Planet of the Apes is terrific. Agree with what everyone said when they heaped praise upon it in the previous round. Snowpiercer, I've also agree is fantastic. I love the way it builds all the way to the end. From car to car. But what I will say is because Snowpiercer is just this kind of insanely prevalent movie as far as like at least among film fans I talk to, it's so popular at this point that I feel like I hear about it constantly. So when I revisit Rise of the Planet of the Apes, it's honestly a bit more, even though I'm familiar with it, it still feels a bit more novel by comparison. So it's by the slightest of margins, but I lean towards Rise of the Planet of the Apes in this particular matchup. So I will vote for Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Robert.
Yeah, this one's really tough. I voted for one of these and against the other one, but it's still really, really, really tough. Because I love Snowpiercer so much. It really is prevalent. It's unique. It like has something to say. Director Bong just knocks it out of the park. The bridge tunnel fight scene is incredible action, and I love how this is like one of those movies that has something to say but doesn't have to spend its last half hour on an action scene. It's an adaptation. It is, but it doesn't have to be a big fight at the end. It can just be some people talking about their philosophical views, and then the movie can end. And I think that those kind of movies are few and far between these days. And I like that it took those chances. I love how small it feels. It feels so contained because of the one location. I really, really, really like Snowpiercer, and I would gladly watch it any day of the week. I just like Rise of the Planet of the Apes just a little bit more. I love that moment with Caesar where he says no. I love what Mara was saying about how good intentions don't mean good results. I love John Lithgow, one of my favorite actors. Like I love him in this movie. I like how he, sets Will on the straight path and tells him to let him go. That scene is super emotional. I love how Caesar reacts to the other apes. I love how he becomes friends with Maurice and Rocket. Like I said, I really, really like the foreshadowing with Koba in this movie. I think that's done super, super well, and it pays off well in the other movies, but it wouldn't pay off as well if it wasn't set up as well in this movie. Actual Nigerian Prince David Oyelowo knocks it out of the park. And Rise of the Planet of the Apes just, I think, is a little bit more special to me. I like that. I like these movies. I will be happy with either than moving on, but my vote is going to go to Rise.
Mara?
No.
That's bad.
I'll go.
Okay.
I know what I'm going to say. I just don't want to have to.
Holy
I
shit,
think
guys.
there's
When
a
is
reason
Royal
why
Pain?
when Adam says that,
Sorry.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes is being brought up, I think it's because, Snowpiercer is being brought up a lot. I think it's because, the movie's only 7-ish years old. And yet, what was dystopian sci-fi even 7 years ago, I think, now, because we rewatched it this year, I think, or last for a watch along for the Patreon. We rewatched it, and it's like the idea of the total breakdown of society. Well, shit, that doesn't seem as fictional now as it did even 7 years ago, or the extreme disparity, like the idea that oh, you put the poor people in the back of the train eating bugs. Well, now that doesn't really seem like as much of a outrageous concept.
Climate change.
Exactly. The idea the planet is in worse shape now, even than when the movie was made, with this extreme weather. It's it's Snowpiercer is relevant on the accelerated path. It's gotten 30 years of relevance in 7 years. It's such a well-made movie. Apart from that, with so many great performances, anytime Tilda Swinton pops up and it's like she got put. It's like she said, "Okay, give me the script, and I want you to give me full control of a costume trailer and a makeup trailer for 2 hours, and whatever I come out wearing and whatever I come out with my makeup on, that's what you're going to use." And they're like, "Okay." And she just was going nuts and going crazy, and she's so memorable, even though she's not in the movie that much. But even just that haunting prospect of opening up that little door and realizing that this thing is kept by these little children, and only their little children arms are small enough to keep this train running. And it's that moral dilemma of well, do I keep society alive at the cost of on the backs of the most helpless, or do I revolutionize everything but maybe kill everybody? It's just, even when I rewatched it, it had such resonance that I didn't really even feel the last time I'd seen it. I sang the praises of Rise of the Planet of the Apes previously, and I still think it's a great movie, and it's certainly a different kind of dystopia that we're also moving. We're moving towards all different kinds of dystopia right now.
Everything's
I'm certainly watching the spread of the virus on the Planet of the Apes. It's oh yeah, well, nope, that also tracks. But I think for me, Snowpiercer is just, there's so much to it now that even I didn't really see, or that I registered as fiction, that I think is even more relevant now than when it was made even less than a decade ago. So my vote goes to Snowpiercer. I think Bong Joon-ho is going to be remembered as one of the most visionary filmmakers of this generation, and that's a great part of his filmography. Snowpiercer.
Yeah, this one's interesting. I do think it's tough because this matchup feels a little bit more. It feels a little bit more than a lot of the matchups we've gotten recently, and I mean that in they're comparable. A lot of the other films we've been deciding between were well, this is a wacky kids superhero movie, and this one's about the end of civilization, and these two feel like you can kind of compare them in the things they're trying to say, and it makes it a bit harder because I think they both do it extremely well. The cast in both of them is fantastic. The story is great. The script is great. The directing is great. They're both so heavy emotionally, and in the subject matter they handle, and they both do it really well. So it's a tough one because we're just letting things like Amazing Spider-Man and Spawn into our conversations, and then we're having to deal with this. It's tough, but I'm gonna give the edge to Snowpiercer.
Ooh, all right, Mara.
I didn't hear you. What? I'm joking. I'm sorry. Sorry. I know everyone thinks I'm really nice, and I really, really am, but I'm also really good at being mean. I'm sorry. This is very, very difficult. I mean, they both have something established that they are derived from, like Snowpiercer is an adaptation, Apes is an established franchise. So, I mean, sometimes I can give points for like straight up originality, but in this case, I think they're kind of, I'll just give them even footing. They both address topics that are incredibly relevant, whether they had any idea they would be or not. Pretty level playing field there. I also think that I would revisit these equally as frequently, so level playing field there. I think the thing that is going to differentiate it for me are very small differences in, I think that Snowpiercer had a higher mountain to climb, because it's a train. Because of its production design, it needed to be excellent because it's a bottle movie. I also really appreciate that you have Chris Evans going against type, like real heavy. You have an absolute like banger cast to back him up. Like even like little like bit parts like Ewan Bremner getting his arm frozen and knocked off. Like he's an actor that can carry that little tiny part of the movie he's in. I mean, Octavia Spencer being there. I mean, even Ed Harris is kind of against type in the sense that like even when he's in The Rock, he's morally right, even though he does bad things. He's not morally right at all in this movie. So like there's just so much to dissect in it. And I also really think that, especially even then, like discussing issues of class, I think was a very specific thing and a really particular vision. At that point, it was not in like the forefront of the social agenda. Like people were not as aware of stuff like that, 7+ years ago. And also the battle that he waged with the studio about making sure he could have final cut. So that way it couldn't get like turned into something that was contrary to what he wanted to say. And also no one has mentioned, sadly so far, Song Kang-ho is incredible in that movie.
Yes.
And he really helps to carry it into the third act. Like the final reel, I know that Chris Evans is doing heavy lifting, but Song Kang-ho is like the glue that holds everything that's happening in the train together. And Alison Pill is a delight. Like that's a dystopian future that I can get behind because she's just menacingly sweet. It's just delightful. And though it pains me because I do love all things Primate, I have to edge it out to Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
All right. And Marisol.
Yeah, so many people have already said so many of the points that I was going to make. So I'll just say weird things. But like Draco Malfoy, like, ew. Like I was so like the second Tom Felton came on screen, I was like, he needs to die. Like I was so ready for like him to get his comeuppance and rise. That was so rewarding when that happened. I was just like, well, obviously he's the asshole of this movie, and obviously he needs to burn. But also random things. The special effects weren't quite there, breathtaking. And I remember, you know what I remember is before Rise came out, like the 8-second teaser of just Andy Serkis's Caesar with him like looking up and looking like offside the frame. They released like 8 seconds of that footage like the year before Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out, and people lost their fucking minds. People shit bricks because it was so intense. And that was really exciting. But I do think, and again, with the power of hindsight, now seeing Dawn and Rise, the special effects still left something to be desired. They weren't quite there, and they really went to the next level with Dawn and War. Still great for early 2010s. But not as impeccably rendered as they would later become in the trilogy. But thematically rich, these two films, a smorgasbord of things to dissect with these two films, and things that are relevant to us and how we tick and what we're doing even here on this planet and why we do what we do. And Snowpiercer, yes. Tilda Swinton is the MVP of almost every movie she's in, whether it's fucking, it could be Constantine or a Bigger Splash or this or Snowpiercer, or we need to talk about Kevin, whatever it is, she's the MVP. Song Kang-ho, yes, deserves a lot of credit. This may be the only movie is this the only movie where Bong Joon-ho and Park Chan-wook collaborated? Is this this might be the only movie that they collaborated together.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But that's evident. That's evident. Bong Joon, like all of his movies, he throws everything but the kitchen sink, whether it's Okja, whether it's this, whether it's Parasite, whether it's I don't even The Host and anything. Like he throws so much. They're more than just the obvious in all his movies, and I adore them for that. And Snowpiercer is no exception. It's just so rich, and I think it is richer than Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and there's more to revisit and more to pull from it. Personally, for me, whether it's from the depth of the performances or the reach of some of the themes and the topics are discovered, the strength of the spectacle, and the arms, the length of the themes and the metaphors, I think Snowpiercer is richer than Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and has more on the whole to appreciate, and has a better legacy. And I think if you showed one or the other, I think you would get, if somebody went in cold turkey, I think you would have a stronger reaction to Snowpiercer than you would to Rise. So all of those reasons, I'm going to go with Snowpiercer.
With that, Snowpiercer is in the final 32.
Oh, I forgot one really key point. James Franco, his character could never persuade me to do anything, but Chris Evans eat babies, and I'm still into it. So, I mean, like, that's all.
This is an important distinction.
He knows that
Bong
babies taste
Joon-ho
best.
tricked Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
It's one of the greatest stories.
I've never heard this.
So Harvey Weinstein was like giving him a hard time about the final cut of Snowpiercer, and he's like, "You got to cut this. You got to cut this." And Bong Joon-ho was like, "Oh, no, I can't cut this part of the movie because I wrote this because it's about my father, and it's very personal to me because my father was like a fisherman, and so this is really important for me to stay in the movie." And Harvey Weinstein's like, "All right, fine, whatever." And Bong Joon-ho was like, "My father was a fucking fisherman. I just didn't want to."
Yeah, I think his exact lines were like, "Family is every." Yeah, Weinstein said, "Family is everything." So and he like agreed on it because it's just
there's no fisherman in Snowpiercer.
I don't know what it was. It's just
there is a scene on a boat. Yeah. All right.
That's brilliant.
Last one.
Let's do it.
Tom Kenny again.
I'm happy. I'm still happy. I'm waiting for Jacob to suck my soul out with this choice, but I'm still happy. Have at it, everybody.
Marisol, all right, I'm gonna let you start because I know we know where you're going with this. So
y'all know what it is.
Everyone a little bit of time to think.
I feel like an R&B song in the early 2000s. Y'all know what it is, but but look, whenever people, I am so curious to hear the rest of everything that everybody's going to say, because whenever people talk about Mad Max Fury Road, this is not like an insult. This is not an insult, but I've never heard more blanket statements. I don't think I've ever heard more blanket statements in a film. This might sound hyperbolic than when it comes to Mad Max Fury Road. People are just like, it's the greatest thing I've seen in 10 years. And there's usually just blanket statements about that. And what I've heard less is really, really, really deep dives and really, really the whys. Because look, I've seen thousands of films, as I'm sure that you guys have as well. And there's a lot of movies. And when I hear people say like, this is the best of the hundreds upon hundreds of films that I've just seen, and that's mostly like what I just hear about a film, where people just say like, this is the greatest film of the 2010s. That doesn't give me a lot to go off of unless I really, really hear like what is the nitty gritty of this thing? What is the meat of this? What is it? And I do kind of get glazed over when people are just say, this is the greatest action film I've ever seen, or this is the greatest film of the last 20 years. I I'm repeating myself at this point, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. So I will say how much I love Superman the movie and how much it means to me, which I've said extensively every time it's come up in this bracket already. And it means a lot, and it excites me personally. And I can't say any of those things about Mad Max Fury Road. I can say some technical things that I really appreciate, which I know that I've heard a lot about it as well, that it's technically a brilliant action film. And Furiosa is an iconic character. But Superman, the movie, is resonant. And I think iconic in far more reaching ways, and is actually impactful on genres and films that have come after it in ways beyond that I think that Mad Max Fury Road is. People say it, but like I'm not quite sure what the cultural impact of Mad Max Fury Road has been in the last 6 years since it's come out. Other than people saying how excellent it is. And I think that we've now spent 43 years seeing what the cultural impact of Superman the movie is. And that's the end of my, look, that's all I got for right now. That's all I got. Superman the movie is absolutely my vote. I think it's terrific genre filmmaking. And I think it's a benchmark superhero film. I think it's a benchmark hero film, adventure film. Stretch out the superhero elements of it. It's Superman the movie. Please and thank you. I really, really want to hear. I really would love to hear everybody's takes on Mad Max Fury Road.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah, so I kind of took a pass on the last round because I was depressed about it. So I will say with this, what's interesting between Mad Max Fury Road and Superman the movie for me is I have more built-in passion for Superman as a character. Mad Max is something that had to win me over time. And I had seen the original films, revisited them after Fury Road came out, then went back and rewatched Fury Road a few times. And what I like about Fury Road isn't just the style and scale of it. It's the fact that this is just a completely kinetic film, much like Snowpiercer in a lot of ways. But like, what I really like about it is it more than ever, it solidifies Max as an audience member, in his own movie. He is the through line of all of these movies, but it almost, the thing I like about Mad Max as a franchise is it can be interpreted as, word of mouth stories about Max. And someone heard this particular story about Fury Road, and it's really not even his story at all. He just happened to be there. He was just a witness. He does a few things, like he's not a completely passive party in this, but Furiosa obviously gets a lot of attention, deservedly so, for being a character of action who really steps up throughout the movie. I really love the look of Immortan Joe. I like that more than ever at this point in the Mad Max series, we see the pinnacle of what the society has become. And even though this film had a larger budget than the previous ones, it still doesn't try and distract you with a bunch of unnecessary special effects, in my opinion. The stuff that is right in your face, you can follow it. And when you rewatch it, you're rewarded by paying attention to the way, the mechanics of how these things are working. Mad Max Fury Road has always felt to me, and I may have said this in a previous episode, but like Cirque du Soleil from hell. And I mean that as a compliment. I think there might be some Cirque du Soleil people in this, for all I know. It seems like there are. The way they're bouncing around and swinging on stuff. I just love the spectacle of it, yes. But I also like that it's a story about, yes, liberation and, overcoming an oppressor. But we've talked a lot about, yes,
Yeah, I just want to say real quick, we've done 7 matchups since that one, and that movie's 100-minute.
It's a quick watch.
Wow.
It's a quick watch.
That's how we do it. We got through Sky High, and I feel, and I'd like to reverse my vote as a result. I feel like I understand it better.
I fast forwarded about 10 or 15 minutes, so that to be fair.
Look, I've said enough about Mad Max. I just wanted to answer Marisol's call there for a second. But Superman the movie, forgive the reference. It had me at hello. I love this movie for a very long time. I love this character. My passion for this character is one of the reasons why I fought hard for Man of Steel. So spectacle and excitement might have a slight edge with Mad Max Fury Road, but legacy and what I revisit more often, what's more dear to me as a film fan and as a fan of what went into the movie and the source material. Superman the movie slightly edges it out, but it's not a choice I'm relishing. And Mad Max Fury Road's great.
Dan.
Yes. Well, I did make one of those blanket statements earlier about Mad Max Fury Road when I said I think that they make maybe 10 perfect films a decade, and Mad Max Fury Road is one of them. So I will go a little deeper into that because, spoiler alert, I'm going to choose Mad Max Fury Road as much as I love Superman, and I do. I mean, listen, technically it's incredible. We can go into cinematography, action, choreography, etc. And if that's all that it was, then I think that it would be a movie that I enjoyed watching from time to time. But I think ultimately it's a one-trick pony. I don't think it keeps you coming back. I don't think great visuals can keep you coming back that much. For me, and it's why I always kind of fought back against people, like when we were doing the Honest Trailer, who would say, well, there's no story. Like there actually is. I think because it's behind so much wizardry and action, etc., there's this thought that there's no story, but it actually is, because what I love about the film is that, to me, and I'm a big story geek, it's extremely narratively satisfying because you take your 3 main characters, who I think are Max and Furiosa and Nux, and they're each in search of something, but they're going all about it wrong. Nux wants to be accepted. He wants a memorable death. He wants to be remembered, basically. But he's going about it by being, just one of this gang and wanting to be remembered by this guy who couldn't give 2 shits about him. And this movie's about him understanding that. And ultimately, his death does have meaning and will be remembered, and he gets what he wants. He gets what he wants. He wanted a death with meaning, and he gets a death with meaning. Max is somebody who is obviously running from his past. He failed to protect the people that he loved the most, and he's haunted by this. And his solution to that is to run away, is to be the loner, to be the guy who is just out in the desert, doesn't need anybody. And yet he's able to sort of exorcise these demons by doing the opposite, by literally being at first chained to somebody and then to go out and protect them. I mean, he has this critical point where he could let all of these people go out into the desert and die. And he says, no, we're not going to do that. This is how you live. You don't do it by running. You do it by, we're going back. We're going back to the Citadel. We are going to, if you run, you die. And it's antithetical to his earlier way that he was going. So that's narratively, that's how he comes full circle with Furiosa. She's looking to do something heroic. And again, she thinks that the way to do that is by going it alone. And ultimately, it's by going back and not running from Immortan Joe, but confronting Immortan Joe, fighting Immortan Joe, that she ultimately prevails. And she becomes this leader that she wanted to be by literally going the opposite direction of the way that she was going. And yet also with Max, you're able to complete his narrative by showing that he doesn't need to run from people, but you also show, and I love that shot where, Furiosa's being raised up and she looks down and Max just kind of melts back into the crowd, because it also shows that it's not that easy for him. He can't just go on to this new phase of life. He still needs to heal. He still has stuff to do. And so when people say like, oh, it's just a story about people driving around the desert. Well, if you choose to look at it that way, it is. But I think that one of the reasons, and whether you understand it or not, that people love these movies is that these stories are classic stories for a reason. It's because they're hardwired into us. It's the whole thing about Joseph Campbell and the story circle and why people talk about it so much in the hero's journey. And I think you have 3 flawlessly executed heroes' journeys inside of this movie. And I think that's why it's so satisfying. So I think you take I think great narrative form, very satisfying narrative form, add to that the craft behind this movie, which is shockingly well executed and visionary and just beautiful, just gorgeous. And the music and everything about it, the action, it's a merging, I think, of the best that you can do technologically and the best that you can do narratively. And that synthesis for me, when I say that I think that Mad Max Fury Road is one of the best, most perfect movies made, in the 2010s, that's why. It's because, when I look at that movie, I don't see anything that I would do differently. I don't see any hole that I would poke in it where I would say like, oh, I wish they'd done this or fixed this, or I can see a compromise there. It's bold, it's risky, it's daring, it doesn't take any prisoners, and it succeeds. And so many other movies fail when they try to do the same thing. So that's why I'm picking Mad Max Fury Road. I love Superman. I don't think that it's, quite as effective for me overall as Mad Max Fury Road. That is a movie. There's very few of them. Mad Max Fury Road is one of them. Network is one of them. There Will Be Blood is one of them. We just watched one last night. Fargo is one of them. Casablanca is one of them. I believe
it's Fargo.
Casablanca is one of them. There's a handful of them where when I'm watching them, it takes 5 minutes for the movie. It seems like the movie lasts 5 minutes. Like we get to the third act and I'm conscious of the fact that the movie's going to end. And I'm like, oh, wait, we're already here? Because it's like I'm experiencing that movie again for the first time. And so that's that. I have that with Mad Max Fury Road. I don't have that with a whole lot of other movies. So that's why I'm picking Mad Max Fury Road.
All right. I loved that. Mara.
You're about to get more of it.
All right.
I'm saying the praises of Superman the movie. I love this movie. I will not begrudge it one iota if it goes through. However, I am also going to vote for Mad Max Fury Road. Building off of what Dan said, I think one of the reasons why some people criticize it for having no story is because it gives you all of the thread, it gives you an instruction, and it lets you weave the tapestry in your head because it trusts the viewer to have an intellect and to be able to look at it critically. It isn't incredibly heavy-handed with its narrative structure, and I really like that. And it addresses really critical themes of like gender roles and power, like the wives, the Vuvolini, Furiosa herself, and how they're looked at by men and how they actually are, and then how those perceptions change at the end of the film. And also, especially like one thing that doesn't really get talked about much is the difference between like Rictus Erectus and Corpus Colossus. They are literally the diametrically opposed strength and brainlessness, and a brain and no strength whatsoever, because the actor that portrayed him actually has the straight up glass disorder, osteogenesis imperfecta. So, I mean, he is incredibly breakable as like an actual human, but also the character. And I think that looking where those two people end up at the end of the movie is also really important. I think it's really important to talk about Immortan Joe because that's, again, another powerful theme about a charismatic leader who hoards natural resources to engender loyalty and affection from people, and liberating people from that at the end of the movie. I think the movie is not without pain, but I think that it's actually a very big choice for a dystopian future movie to end optimistically and not immediately set itself up for having another version of that movie. I think that is an incredibly restrained choice, particularly in a franchise that has been built on sequels. I think that Hugh Keays-Byrne is also like kind of like strangely hot in that movie, but that's just me. Also, like Dan mentioned the cinematography already. It filmed outside. the logistics of filming outside, you are limited. You are not on sets. Like, you don't just get lighting that's perfect all the time. Like, you have weather, you have delays due to all of those things. Like, this was a labor of love, this movie, from cast and crew, let alone like practical effects. I mean, again, Superman the movie, also a shitload of practical effects, but I mean, the ones in Mad Max Fury Road are, I think they're going to hold up over time pretty well. I mean, of course, I think people said that when they looked at movies that had computer generated effects in 1994, but I think the score is fantastic and complements the movie rather than overwhelming it. Because again, bear in mind, this movie also had to win me over. I didn't go see it in a movie theater. I regret this. I regret it so much. And if it ever shows in a movie theater, I'm going, and I'm going to buy out the whole place so I can just watch it. I'll let him go, but everyone else can just suck it. I also agree that this truly is, I said it before, it is one of the most beautiful cinematic marriages of style and substance. I think that you can get like 60-40s, you can get 55-45s where it's like, oh, this is so cool, but it's a little more heady than it is, emotional, or it's a little bit more flash and panache than it is actually putting together a fully fleshed out group of characters. Or, oh, hi, Kat. They want to get fed. They get fed 15 minutes ago.
No, we gotta redo that line. It's, oh, hi, Mark. Take 2.
Oh, but well, the cat's kind of taking over right now. But it's again, also it's about the haves and the have-nots. I think there's a lot of actual real life stuff that gets put into this movie. And again, I think that it just trusts its viewer to be able to dissect those themes rather than like telling people what the themes are and telling them what commentaries that they're making. And that's one of the reasons why I also love it. And it was robbed. It should have won Best Picture. Dropping the mic. Boom.
Robert.
I cannot follow either of those two things. So I will choose not to. I will simply give my vote to Mad Max Fury Road. I do like Superman the movie. I do respect it for its legacy and for its impact. I dare say 90+% of the movies that we're talking about in this show would not be here were it not for Superman the movie. But I still think Mad Max Fury Road is a better movie. So gotta go for Fury Road.
Taylor.
Yeah, this one's tough because Mad Max Fury Road is a movie that took me completely by surprise when I first saw it. I hadn't seen a Mad Max film until I saw Fury Road, and immediately I was just like, if this doesn't win all of the awards, we riot. Like, that's just what has to happen. It's very visually striking for me. And it's something that when we bought our new TV, it's the first thing that we put on because it's just gorgeous and just incredible to just sit there and just take it in. But I do think that the story has so much to it. It's so layered. All of the performances are great. And there's no reason not to vote for it. But then I think you can say the same about Superman the movie. It has so many great things going for it. Culturally, its significance is immeasurable, I think. I don't think we're ever going to get a better performance of both Superman and Clark Kent. Like, I just don't think we're ever going to see it. And I just think that I get so much joy out of watching Superman the movie. So it's very different experiences cinematically. And I don't really know where I want to go with this, to be perfectly honest. All right, I'm going to vote for Superman the movie.
God damn it.
You get to have your deciding vote.
Oh, I made this choice probably 3 months ago. This was probably, there were 3 movies in this entire bracket that I wanted to win more than anything. And this was one of them. And it's Mad Max Fury Road. That is probably one of the greatest movie going experiences I have ever had in my entire life. it was going in not having no idea what this movie was going to be like. Absolutely not, like, just sitting there going, this is going to be like, I wasn't that sold by the trailers. I didn't think the trailers looked that great. And seeing it in our giant screen with just everyone from work, because we wanted to see it early and we had a spare screen, and being completely captivated for the entire 2-hour runtime, and never once being bored, never once being wanting to look at something else, wanting to do something else. I just falling completely and utterly in love with everything that was on the screen for 2 hours. And it's Mad Max. Dan and Mara put it perfectly. There's not much more I can add to that. It's Mad Max. So with that, Mad Max Fury Road makes it through to the final 32.
Weaker.
Oh boy!
They wouldn't have let you back in the country if you'd voted otherwise.
Oh, that's a good one.
All right. I'm just very quickly going to go over some of the ones for next Friday. So, guys, we're going to be doing 2 episodes this weekend.
You guys are getting a double.
You are getting a double dose because.
Are we drinking on Friday?
Oh, we can.
We are drinking.
We
on
are
Friday,
definitely
yes.
drinking.
We're drinking on Friday.
Everyone.
I'm always on the opposite schedule with all y'all.
That
Well,
sounds
we
like a
need
you
someone
problem,
to be
Robbie.
sober, I guess. So I mean, it can be you. But
And real
yes.
drinking, the hard stuff.
Yeah, big
It's
boy
me.
drink.
I don't drink anything other than the hard
I'm
stuff.
settling. I gotta go work tomorrow. This is my drink tonight.
Well, Robbie, it sounds like a you problem for having
So-
a job.
You're
So-
right. I should quit.
Good job.
Friday
Duncan Richmond.
at
works
same
for you.
time,
Yep.
7 p.m. PST.
Yeah.
All right. Friday we will be doing a bonus episode
Mm-hmm.
because schedules.
But also, well, Thanksgiving weekend.
Yes.
We kind of didn't want to force anyone to do this show on Thanksgiving weekend. So, spoiler alert: we're not going to have an episode on Thanksgiving weekend.
Spanksgiving?
Thanksgiving.
I didn't-
Apparently,
Where's
Come
your-
on.
where's your-
Yeah.
where's-
because
Jacob,
this is going to get
you
real
minx.
ugly. All right. Here are
Oh,
some
no.
of the teasers for this Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Interesting.
Okay.
The infamous.
I don't like you. I don't like you.
Well, how would
Okay.
the duck be the Cinderella story of this
No,
bracket?
no.
If it is, I'm
And-
never doing another bracket with you ever again.
And
Okay,
lastly-
is it
that is a
Spawn or Howard the
promise.
Duck? Well, you
That is
got to
a
pick one.
promise.
And
Tara.
I'm just going to say this now. This is the one that will get Robert to actually drink.
Oh no.
Oh.
Ah!
Wow.
God, that's real tough.
Wow.
So, guys, we'll see you at 7 p.m. this Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Sure you don't want to drink, Robbie?
All right. Before we go,
Oh God.
we have our next episode
Yes.
of our podcast that we are releasing.
Yes, it drops at 8 p.m. EST, 8 a.m. EST tomorrow.
Yes, and we're doing a bit of a Netflix episode. We talk about The Harder They Fall. We talk about Tick Tick Boom. Talk about Red Notice.
Yeah.
Just kind of an overview of some of the Netflix movies that have come out recently. We focus mostly on The Harder They Fall, but I really wanted to spend a whole hour talking about Tick Tick Boom, but
Yes.
that didn't end up happening.
It's yes, Tick Tick Boom is very good. But does anyone else have anything they want to plug before we wrap up? Cool. All right. Everyone's links are down in the description down below. Guys, we are
We're
2
almost
episodes.
done.
We are 3 episodes from the end, from when we will have the #1 geek movie that
The #1 Comic-Con movie.
yes, that
Excuse
doesn't
me.
that still doesn't
There's-
even feel like this is what we're actually what we're doing. It doesn't even feel like we're anywhere near the end.
I mean, I think it's been like tough for like the last like 2 months. Jesus Christ! Imagine when we get down to like the final 16, and it's only like excellent
versus Alien or some shit. At the
right, when it's only excellent movies left. When it's only S tier movies left.
That last episode, we're gonna
there
need
will
a
be
lot
blood.
of alcohol. We're gonna need a lot of alcohol.
I'm fair warning everyone. That last episode's probably going 6 hours.
There's gonna be at least 2 flaming turds that make it to the end, though.
We're just discussing the last pick too. It's just,
it can't be settled with words, and it's a good thing that we're in person because we're obviously gonna have to like lightsaber duel this shit out.
I'm gonna make a lot of desserts, and I'll also be mixing. So I'm gonna just bribe everyone the entire time.
All right.
You want another drink, Adam? Oh, you want a piece of cake?
Guys, we will see you on Friday right here at 7 p.m. It's going to be a lot of fun. Until then, guys,
hanging out, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.